Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Ang inyong matutunghayan at mapapanood ay hatid po sa inyo ng bumubuo ng Millennial Online TV ngayong nahaharap ang ating bansa sa pandemic na COVID-19. Magandang araw po.
Mabuti ka pa, nasa bahay. Sa natutulog mong anak, ikaw ang nakadantay. Ramdam ng pamilya mong sila'y may karamay. Samantalang kami, isang paa nasa hukay. Ewan ko ba kung bakit ang daming nagre-reklamo na tila yung bahay nila parang isang impyerno, na kahit anong bawal, ipipilit yung gusto. Naisip ko tuloy, sulit ba ang pagod ko? Sulit ba ang magsalba ng buhay ng iba? Sulit bang harapin ang kalaban na hindi namin nakikita? Kalaban na maaaring nasa loob ko na at pinipigilan kong hindi sa iyo maipasa. Bago ka magreklamong sawa ka na sa sardinas na dahil walang nightlife, parang ikaw na yung pinakamalas. Gusto kong malaman mo yung hirap na dinaranas ng mga nakikibaka para ika'y mailigtas. Alam mo ba yung pakiramdam ng inandidirihan? Na walang gustong kumausap sa'yo kasi taga-ospital yan. Na kailangan naming ipagpatuloy yung sinumpaang katungkulan na kung mahahawa kami bukas ay walang kasiguraduhan. Alam mo ba yung pakiramdam na takot ka? Pero sa harap ng pasyente, hindi mo pwedeng ipakita. Eh yung sarili mong anak, hindi mo makamusta. Dahil busy-busy ka. Asikasuhin yung iba. Kung naririnig nyo lang yung kabog ng dibdib ko, sa bawat balitang may doktor na yumao, na tumataas yung bilang ng mga positibo at madadagdagan pa yan dahil sa kakalabas nyo. Ilang doktor pa ba ang sasapit sa kamatayan? Anong paliwanag ba para maintindihan?
Ang inyong matutunghayan at mapapanood ay hatid po sa inyo ng bumubuo ng Millennial Online TV ngayong nahaharap ang ating bansa sa pandemic na COVID-19. Magandang araw po.
Mabuti ka pa, nasa bahay. Sa natutulog mong anak, ikaw ang nakadantay. Ramdam ng pamilya mong sila'y may karamay. Samantalang kami, isang paa nasa hukay. Ewan ko ba kung bakit ang daming nagre-reklamo na tila yung bahay nila parang isang impyerno, na kahit anong bawal, ipipilit yung gusto. Naisip ko tuloy, sulit ba ang pagod ko? Sulit bang magsalba ng buhay ng iba? Sulit bang harapin ang kalaban na hindi namin nakikita? Kalaban na maaaring nasa loob ko na at pinipigilan kong hindi sa iyo maipasa. Bago ka magreklamong sawa ka na sa sardinas, na dahil walang nightlife, parang ikaw na yung pinakamalas. Gusto kong malaman mo yung hirap na dinaranas ng mga nakikibaka para ikay mailigtas. Alam mo ba yung pakiramdam ng inandidirihan? Na walang gustong kumausap sa'yo kasi taga-ospital yan. Na kailangan namin ipagpatuloy yung sinumpaang katungkulan na kung mahahawa kami bukas ay walang kasiguraduhan. Alam mo ba yung pakiramdam na takot ka? Pero sa harap ng pasyente, hindi mo pwedeng ipakita. Na yung sarili mong anak, hindi mo makamusta dahil busy-busy ka. Asikasuhin yung iba. Kung naririnig nyo lang yung kabog ng dibdib ko, sa bawat balitang may doktor na yumao, na tumataas yung bilang ng mga positibo at madadagdagan pa yan dahil sa kakalabas nyo. Ilang doktor pa ba ang sasapit sa kamatayan? Anong paliwanag ba para maintindihan na manatili lang kayo sa inyong mga tahanan ay nagampanan nyo na ang ambag nyo sa bayan? Gusto ko pang masilayan ang bukang liwayway. Gusto ko pang akapiling ang mga mahal ko sa buhay. Lahat ng tapang na meron ako ay nakanda kong ialay. Pero katulad po ninyo, ayoko pang mamatay.
Barangay, pangunahing unit ng pamahalang lokal kung saan dito pinag-uusapan ang bawat sinalot ng mga residente ng bawat barangay. Dito rin pinag-uusapan ng mga piling hanggang na opisyal na barangay ang mga proyekto para sa kanilang barangay. Kumustahin natin ang panunungkulan ni Kapitan dito sa Dalo Barangay sa Millennial Online TV Worldwide, ang katropa ng bawat barangay.
Ating tinatapos ang ating pagpupulong. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalo at tapos na po ang ating session. Hanggang na po tayo.
Ikaw ba stress? O may dinaramdam? O gulong-gulo ang isip mo? Tumutok lamang at panoorin dito sa Millennial Online TV. May tuturo po ko sa inyong isang paraan upang maibsan at mabawasan niyang problemado ninyong pag-iisip. Ito ay ang Tai Chi Learning Series. Sana po tumutok po kayo at abangan niyo po kung Sabado po ng umaga yan. Dito lamang po sa Millennial Online TV. Salamat po!
Mga katropa, tunghayan ang kusinero ng bagong milenyo, si Kuya G, at ipagluluto niya kayo ng masasarap na putahe ng pagkain. At para matuto kayo kung paano ito lutuin na pwede mong ihain o ipagmalaki sa iyong mga kaibigan o kamag-anak. Kung ngayon, samahan natin si Kuya G, si Hener Ariesgado, at ituturo niya kung paano lutuin ang mga masasarap na putahe ng pagkain dito lang sa kusinero ng bagong milenyo. Live dito lang sa Millennial Online TV Tutok na mga katropa. Talakayin, rebisahin, opinyon, palawakin, aksyonan. Kasama si Rosel Lopez, ang inyong katropa, dito lang sa Millennial Online TV. Ang katropa mo sa pagbabalita. Ikaw ba'y nag-iisa? Nalulungkot dahil iniwan at ipinagpalit, niloko ng iyong minamahal. Kung ngayon, i-type sa inyong mga cellphone, Facebook o YouTube man ang Millennial Online TV. Dahil nasa Millennial Online TV na ang online haralista ng bagong milenyo, si Randel Villados.
Naninigas ang aking katawan kapag umikot ng plaka.
At haharanahin kayo ni Randel ng iba't ibang awitin para maibsan ang inyong inip at kalungkutan kahit nasaan man kayo.
Hanggang sa tumanda. Come on! Kung tayo'y matanda na, sana'y di tayo magbago.
At pwede rin kayong makiduet kay Randel tuwing Sabado ng hapon. Tutok na! Tawag na mga milenyo!
Araw-araw ikaw ang gusto kong kasama. Buhay ko'y kumpleto na tuwing nandito ka sa tabi ko o aking giliw.
One, two, three, let's go!
Ayun, oh. Okay, so yan mga kaibigan, magandang hapon po at welcome po sa ating Tuesday edition ng programang Talakayin, Rebisahin, Opinyon, Palawakin, Aksyonan, Tropa. At medyo parang nasyado kung nasa gilid ng frame, ano? Medyo kasi wala yung aking technical engineer pa. Kaya one-man team ako ngayon. Okay, so mga kaibigan, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. At syempre po, ngayon ako inyong magiging kasama dito sa programang Talakayin, Rebisahin, Opinyon, Palawakin, Aksyonan, Tropa, inyong lingkod, Rosel Lopez. Iba tugtugan natin ngayon, ha? Aba, syempre po yan ay ikinasa ng ating audio engineer, ang ating technical engineer, ang ating audio tech, ha? Si Josar Lasin. Palakpakan mo, Mr. DJ, pero wala pa si Mr. DJ, ha? Okay, so yung mga kaibigan, ako yung magiging kasama pa rin, Rosel Lopez, ayan, ha? At yan, ganda daw music ko, sabi ni Miss Jacqueline Lagpaw Adahar, yung ating kaibigan at katropang LMT, Licensed Massage Therapist. At syempre, binabati rin natin si Barangay Kagawad Sanidad at Pineda po ng Barangay Tugatog dyan sa Malabon. At good afternoon sa iyo, Boss Danny Dadad Pineda. at welcome sa programang Tropa. At siyempre si Joe Francisco, no, si Ate Josie, buhat po dyan sa lalawigan ng Cavite. Good afternoon sa iyo, Ate Josie. Welcome sa programang Tropa. Again din si Kuyang Rolando Tequilio Mendez. Ayan, nanonood sa atin. Good evening, good afternoon sa iyo, Kuyang Rolando. At welcome sa programang Tropa. Abay, siyempre, millennial no? Kaya nga millennial, kailangan mga tugtugan natin pang millennial din, di ba? Mr. DJ, tagal mo. Okay, sandali lang mga kaibigan, meron medyo aayusin lang tayo. Medyo wala tayo sa linya ng ating camera. Kaya sandali lang mo po. Huwag kayo alis dyan, huwag kayo alis. Aba, nasa gilid pa rin tayo. Ano ba talaga nangyayari? Hindi ko matugma ito. Sandali lang, sandali.
May pagpupulong na naman, bagong papakinggan. Ito at nag-aayos ako ng kagamitan. Tapos punta kila good, unting lakad lang naman. Nakasabay pa si Polo sa kinadaanan. Mamaya-maya niyan, lalabas na ang kulit. Mamaga-maga pa, mata ko na kay sikit. Nilalaro lang namin yung hadlang kumakulit. Tanong mo sa bumilib at kung sinong malupit.
Bay, nasa gilid talaga tayo. Ano ba nangyayari? Talagang nasa gilid pa rin tayo. Ano ba nangyayari, Mr. Hindi ko na maano to. Teka. At sabi ni Miss Jackie Lagpao Dahar, ay mag-millennials muna dito bago ako mag-podcast. Wala pa Zoom link. Kayo, dito muna ako. Yo.
Ito habang bilog din ang buwan, mga buwan.
Okay, so tayo mga kaibigan, sandali lang. Makinig muna kayo ng music. Sandali lang.
May pagpupulong na naman, bagong papakinggan. Ito at nag-aayos ako ng kagamitan. Tapos punta kila good, unting lakad lang naman. Nakasabay pa si Polo sa kinadaanan. Mamaya-maya niyan, lalabas na ang kulit. Mamaga-maga pa, mata ko na kay sikit. Nilalaro lang namin yung hadlang kumakulit. Tanong mo sa bumilib at kung sinong malupit. 10 and 6, anong sustansya ang dala. Parang
Ayun, medyo gumit na. Ayan. Wala, tagal ni Mr. Wala pa, kaya nagsosolo ko, one-man team.
mo, pamparam, pam.
Okay, so mga kaibigan, kumusta na po? At siyempre, yung ating mga vaccine, tuloy-tuloy pa rin na walk-in na. Wala na kinakailangan magrehistro, etc. At yun, at yung hindi pa nagpapabakuna, abay magpabakuna na kayo. Masakit? Hindi po masakit, pambihira ka, Mr. Hindi masakit, para ka lang masakit pa nga kagatan lang kami. Kaya po yung ating mga katropa pips dyan, yung ating mga katropa, kabarangay, abay magpabakuna na kayo, yung pong mga walang bakuna. Pero, ang sinasabi nga po, yung Sinovac, na sinasabi na ganito, meron pa raw home booster yon. So, hintayin nyo lang, at kung kailan dala ako po, Sinovac din. Dahil may tinanong akong health workers, sabi ko, pwede ba ako ulit magpabakuna? At kung po pwede, AstraZeneca o kaya Pfizer. Hindi sir, ano ba sa inyo, Sinovac? Sabi sa akin, may booster pa naman ho tayo. So yun ang hinihintay natin ngayon. Kaya lahat po ng mga binakunahan ng Sinovac, maghintay po tayo sa ating mga booster, no? Ika ngayon, yun ang pampatibay, ika nga kumbaga sa pintura, yun yung pinakanyang catalyst. Ayun, at magandang hapon din sa ating ka-TFC, buhat po sa Japan, nanonood sa atin si Ma'am Evelyn Lim Matsuo. Arisay mashe, Tamadachi, arigato. Okay, nagpa-practice lang tayo. Malay mo, mapunta ako sa Japan, imbitahin ako ni Ma'am Evelyn doon na, sir, baka gusto mo pumasyal dito sa Japan, o halimbawa, i-stroll lang, parang bakasyon na 1 week. Wala naman masama, at least marunong ako maghapon na, mushi-mushi ne, arigato. Pag sinabi, tinanong ako ng Hapon, is this your car? Alam ko sa Hapon yun. Pag sinabi sa akin ng Hapon na, is this your car? Otomoto. Di ba? Yun ang sinasabi ko. Kaya nagpa-practice na ng konti. At magandang hapon din kay Melan Lianto Juanico. Ayan, good afternoon sa iyo. Welcome sa programang Tropa. At mamaya mga kaibigan ay tutungay po natin sa inyo. Dire-diretso na yun yung patungkol po sa mensahe po ng Lawyers for Commuter Safety and Protection. No? Ito po ay patungkol doon po sa ating transport. Ito po yung diskriminasyon sa public transport at ang franchise violation na refusal to convey. No? Ayon sa Lawyers for Commuter Safety and Protection, may mga nagsusulong sa public transport na magkaroon ng tinatawag na passenger bubble, kung saan magkakaroon ng mga sasakyan na fully vaccinated lang ang pwedeng isakay at meron din naman para sa hindi nabakunahan. Maraming tumututol dito dahil may tuturing daw na diskriminasyon ito at labag sa pulisiya na bawal ang refusal to convey passengers. Ang mga nagsusulong naman ito ay nagsasabing mas dapat isaalang-alang ang kaligtasan ng mga pasahero. At kami sa lawyers at sila daw sa Lawyers for Commuter Safety and Protection ay nakikita nila na dahil sa kakulangan ng pampublikong sasakyan ay napakahirap itong ipatupad. Mahirap po yun. Halimbawa, itong si Ate Josie hindi pa vaccinated. So hindi ka po pwede sumakay doon sa pampubliko na yon. Dahil doon ang nakapupwede na sumakay mga vaccinated lang. So dito ka, meron namang hindi para sa vaccinated pa. Parang mahirap yon, no? At halimbawa niya, kung sakaling unit na para lang sa mga fully vaccinated ay full capacity na, hindi ba po pwede sumakay ang mga bakunado sa unit na para sa mga di bakunado? At ano ang basihan para ihiwalay ang bakunado sa hindi kung maaari pa rin magka-COVID ang bakunado na? Dahil dito ay tutol ang LCSP sa panukalang ito. So yun po, tutol po ang LCSP doon sa ganung panukalang. Sa bagay, totoo naman yun, meron pong punto ang LCSP dahil unang-una po, halimbawa, ako, bakunado, puno na yung mga designated na sasakyan para sa mga fully vaccinated. Hindi na ba ako po pwede sumakay sa mga sasakyan na para sa hindi mga bakunado? Di ba? O kaya, yung mga hindi naman bakunado, hindi po pwede sumakay doon sa hindi pa, doon sa sasakyan na hindi pa fully vaccinated. So, may katwiran Yun ngang mga vaccinated na fully vaccinated na, nagkakaroon pa ho ng COVID, tinatamaan pa. Di ba? So, bakit naman ganon? Yan. At ayon pa sa LCSP, pero maliban sa panukalang bawal sa public transport, ay may umiiral na mga diskriminasyon sa public transport. Noong board member pa lang daw siya ng LTFRB, si Atty. Inton, ay ipinatigil at minultahan ang mga diskriminasyon na ginagawa ng ilang pasaway na driver tulad ng slim only at double bayad pag mataba o kaya yung ladies only sa harap na naka-sticker sa mga transpo unit. Bawal po yan dahil tahasang diskriminasyon laban sa ilang uri ng pasahero dahil sa kasarian o hugis ng katawan ang pagdidiskitahan. Bawal din na hindi sakay ang mga PWDs dahil lamang makakaukupa sila ng mas malaking espasyo sa upuan o mas mababa ang kanilang babayarang pamasahe dahil sa diskwento. Na-i-report din sa LCSP ang ilang hate messages, stickers o pinta sa ilang pampublikong sasakyan. Bagamat iginagalang daw nila ang free speech, may limitasyon ito lalo na't kabastusan o nakakasakit ng damdamin ng tao ang isang pahayag. At kung sakaling naging biktima po kayo ng diskriminasyon sa pampublikong sasakyan, ay di kaya ay may panlalait sa iyong katauhan. Kayong nararanasan, ipagbigay alam po sa kinauukulan tulad ng LTFRB. At sa halin naman ng LGU o local government units, maaaring magpasa ng ordinansa laban sa diskriminasyon o laban sa mga mensahe ng diskriminasyon sa pampublikong sasakyan. So yan po sinasabi, no, noong pong LCSP. Totoo naman po yun dahil mahirap naman po yung ganun talaga. No? At mamaya rin po mga kaibigan ay itutungay din po natin sa inyo, no, yung pong ginawang proyekto o project ng HWPL. No? Kasi po naglusad po ang HWPL ng isang proyekto. No, ito po ay kailan lang ginawa, no? At ito po yung tungkol sa World Peace Summit na nawagan para sa sama-samang pagkilos para sa pangmatagalang kapayapaan sa panahon ng new normal. So yan po ang nagkuhan po yan ay HWPL, no? Mamaya na po yan, no? Balikan natin yung sa LCSP. Kayo ba ay payag po na gano'n na magiging sistema na kapag fully vaccinated ka, doon ka lang sa sasakyan na yon. At kapag hindi, dito ka. So parang magulo ho, di ba? Anong inyong opinion? Payag ba kayo? No? At sinasabi rin, yung dati kasi meron pong nauso na pag mataba, doble bayad. Di ba? Pagka slim, doon lang. Parang hindi ho yata dapat. Di ba? Kasi hindi naman pare-pare sa sukat ng tao. Tulad ko, heavyweight. So sisingilin mo ko ng bayad ng doble. Dahil wala naman nakasaad sa batas na gano'n na kapag ka mataba, doble bayad. So, paano yung payat? Kalahati lang ang bayad. Papayag ba ang mga driver? Di ba? So, hindi. Di ba? So, dapat, inaayos po yung ating batas tungkol sa mga batas sa trapiko, sa transportasyon. Lahat naman actually ng batas, dapat to nire-revisa. No? Ito, katulad lang nito, bibigyan ko kayo ng halimbawa, mga kaibigan, no? Mga katropa. Merong isang aksidente. For example, ako yung kotse, dumadaan ako. Ngayon may biglang tumawid na pasahero o na residente na tao. Ngayon, hindi niya tinitingnan, tinatawiran. Siyempre, matuling ka. Nabunggo mo ngayon. Sino may kasalanan? Sasabihin ba natin yung kotse? Di ba? Hindi po. Kung ang pag-uusapan realidad, kasalanan ng tumawid. Pero, sa batas, dito sa atin, kasalanan ng may sasakyan. So, kawawa naman yung driver, no? Na wala naman siyang kinalaman dahil biglang tumawid yung tao, pero siya ang magsasakripisyo, siya ang magdudusa, na ang tutusin ang may kasalanan yung biglang tumawid. So, yun ang ibig natin sabihin na dapat ay nire-revisa po ang ating batas. Di ba? Hindi po basta na ganon, ganyan, hindi po pwedeng ganon. So, yun ang sinasabi natin na dapat revisahin pa. Meron pa isang pangyayari. Yung isang container van, nakaparada po sa isang tabi. Nakahinto. Meron nung tumatakbong nakamotorsiklo na lasing. Bumangga ho ngayon sa container van. Nangyari, liable pa rin yung may-ari ng container van o kung sino yung driver ng container van. Bakit? Ang naging katwiran, kung wala daw yung container van doon, hindi raw ma-aksidente yung nakamotorsiklo. Pero sino ang may kasalanan kung titignan natin? Hindi ba yung nakamotorsiklo? Unang-una, nakainom. Pangalawa, siya bumangga. Nakahinto lang yung sasakyan. Minsan, nangyayari ho yan Tumatakbo mga sasakyan. Yung nauuna, may sumusunod na motor. Ngayon, nung huminto yung sasakyan, hindi nakatingin yung nagmumotorsiklo, nakalingat. Nabangga siya sa hulihan ng kotse. Ngayon, aksidente yung nagdisgrasya yung nakamotor. Kasalanan ng nakakotse. Pero ang bumangga ay nakamotor. Yun ang sinasabi natin. So di ba po parang hindi tama? Kaya marami po tayong dapat na mga batas na rebisahin, no? Na dapat balangkasin, rebisahin ng mga mambabatas natin dahil meron pong mga nagsasakripisyo na nagdudusa na hindi naman dapat, no? So linaw lang ho nun eh. For example, sa bagay, yung mga ilan, tama, kapabayaan ng ilan. Halimbawa, kontraktor ng tubig, may nagukay dyan, nagukay. Dahil siyempre, kailangan nilang maglagay ng malaking tubo. Ang problema, nagukay sila pero hindi nila pinalibutan ng barrier, hindi nila pinilagyan ng palibot yung lugar para makatawag pa sa tao na yon ay may hukay. Yon ay delikado. Di ba? So ngayon may aksidente, natural kasalanan ng kontraktor dahil hindi sila naglagay ng warning device. No? Pero kapag sa kabila ng may warning device na, meron pa rin napunta ron, etc. Kasalanan naman ho yun nung nalublob doon. Or, kasi minsan may mga bata dyan, nakitang may hukay doon, maliligo. Kahit na sabi may harang na. Di ba? So, ang may kapabayaan naman doon is magulang. Ang problema naman ng ibang magulang is sinisisi sa kontraktor kasi raw naghukay ron. Kaya nga ho, hinalgyan na lang harang eh. Di ba? Para hindi makadisgrasya. Ang problema, pinababayaan nyo yung mga anak nyo. Nalaligo ron. Ngayon, nalunod. So kayo may problema ho ron, hindi na ho yung kontraktor. So marami pong ganyan mga kaibigan. Ganon din no, sa mga transportasyon, katulad nga sinasabi ng LCSP, no, sa pangunguna ni Atty. Inton, mamaya po ay itutungay natin sa inyo at pakikinggan natin yung kanyang mensahe. At yun naman po sa World Peace Summit na ginawa po ng HWPL noong ika-18 ng Setyembre, ay tinatayang nasa 30,000 katao mula sa 157 na bansa ang virtual, na dumalo. So virtual po ito, no? Hindi po face-to-face. No? Sa ikapitong anibersaryo ng HWPL World Peace Summit sa taong ito ay nakatuon sa pag-unlad ng mga gawaing international sa mga plano upang ipalaganap ang adhikain ng kapayapaan sa panahon ng new normal. So yan po. At ang may kuwan po yan ay yung HWPL. So, mamaya po yan mga kaibigan ay tutungay natin sa inyo para malaman nyo, no? So yon, at mamaya ay itutunghay din natin sa inyo mga kaibigan yung pong konting kasaysayan, no, ng dating Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos, no? Yung mga ilan lang nung siya pa ang pangulo, di ba? Pati yung sa kanyang paglilibing sa libingan ng bayani, mamaya itutunghay po natin lahat yan sa inyo, no? At yon, at saka yung HWPL, papanoorin natin yung kanilang webinar Peace Summit, no, kung paano ang naging nangyari. Okay? So, bago tayo magpatuloy, siyempre, batiin muna natin yung ating ilang mga Dabber Cats na lagi rin po nakatutok dito sa atin sa Millennial Online TV. Siyempre po, sina paring Jerry San Jose ng Barangay Panghulo, dyan sa Obando, Bulacan. At si paring Bong Trono, si Boss Trono, Bong Trono ng Barangay Arcon Bato sa Valenzuela. Si Bobby Aquino ng Barangay Palasan. At siyempre, sina Police Senior Master Sergeant Randy Reyes po buhat po sa Hagunoy PNP at siyang Chief ng Police Community Relation. At yung kanya mga kasama, sina Police Corporal Rapi Ryan Ramos at siyempre si Kiana de la Cruz, yung pong anak ng kaibigan nating namayapang si Edlin de la Cruz. At siyempre, si Barangay Chairman Mila Lakap ng Hagunoy, Bulacan din na naku po, ang sinisigaw ng mga taga-Hagunoy ay Mayora Mila Lakap. Tingnan natin. Ayan, at siyempre buong puwersa po ng Barangay Bayan-Bayanan dyan sa Malabon. No? Magandang hapon po sa inyo dyan. Siyempre sa pangunguna po ni Barangay Chairman Ringo Felix. At siyempre, at sa lungsod ng Valenzuela naman, sina Andres Mosquiteros, no? Sina Valenzuela City Mayor Rex Gatchalian, Congressman Wesley Gatchalian at Senator Sherwin Win Gatchalian. At syempre ngayon din ng mag-aama, no? Na pagdating sa public service ay hindi po matatawaran sina Barangay Chairman Chris Feliciano Tan ng Barangay Arcong Bato dyan sa Valenzuela at ang kanyang kuya, kanyang kapatid na si District 1 City Councilor Robin Feliciano at ang kanilang ama, ang dating kapitan din ng Arcong Bato at ngayon ay siyang Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor Chairman, Sir Alvin Feliciano. Yan, dapat pinapalakpakan po, no? Yan po ang mga kakosa natin. At syempre, sa Tugatog, si Kagawad Sanidad Pineda, at syempre yung kanya may bahay, si Madam Estela Pineda, no? Yan mga katropa natin doon na yayamanin. Natawa si Kagawad. Totoo naman sipin mo yayamanin. Bakit ba hindi? Meron kayong Toyota Hiace, Grandia. Di ba? Meron kayong restaurant. Yung anak mo may restaurant din. Saan ka pa? Yung manugang mo, merong ihaw-ihaw, may grill. Kung merong grill queen, aba yun ang grill queen. Grill king pala. Okay, sa mga kaibigan, ang oras po natin, anong oras na ba? Alas 5:46 po ng hapon, Philippine Standard Time. At ako pa rin, ang inyong kasama, kakwentuhan, katropa, kabarangay, Rosel Lopez. At nanonood din sa atin, ayan, nakita ko sa ating monitor, si Jeffrey Ignacio, ng Lipa City dyan sa Batangas. Abay, magandang hapon sa iyo, paring Jeffrey. At sabi man ng ating friendship, no, ang kaibigan natin si Ate Rebecca Cruz, si Becky, si Ate Beck, magandang hapon, friend. Aba, magandang ka pa sa hapon, friend. Tulad na sinabi ko sa iyo, yung nararanasan natin ngayon, lahat ng tao sa mundong ibabaw ay puro pagsubok po ng nasa taas, no? At hindi po yan ibibigay sa atin kung hindi natin kaya. Kaya po magpakatatag, laging manalangin, at siyempre, gumawa ng paraan doon sa inyong mga problema, sa ating mga problema. Basta yun namang mga gumagawa sa atin ng hindi maganda po, yan naman po ay may balik, may karma na tinatawag, no? Yan ay babalik sa kanya, yung ginawa niyang kalokohan, babalik po yan sa kanya. Okay mga kaibigan, alas 5:48 na po ng hapon, Philippine Standard Time. At yun po mga kaibigan, ay tunghayan na po natin, no, yung sinasabi ko sa inyong mensahe ng Lawyers for Commuter Safety and Protection ni Attorney Inton, at gayon din ang kapiranggot, ang kapiraso na parang telenovela, no, ng dating Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos. At siyempre, yung ginawang webinar summit ng HWPL. So mga kaibigan, dyan lang kayo at panoorin natin.
Tutol ang LCSP sa anumang diskriminasyon sa public transportasyon. No? Hindi dapat na tatanggihan mo yung pasahero dahil sa kasarian o kaya naman hugis ng katawan o kaya katabaan. No? Pangalawa, yung mga hate messages na nakalagay nga doon sa mga pampubliko sa sasakyan, sana tanggalin po natin yan kasi nakaka-offend din po yan. Hindi rin po maganda na nagdidikit po tayo ng mga pagmumura na nakaka-offend sa mga pasahero. Sa usapin naman po ng ihiwalay yung mga fully vaccinated sa hindi, palagay ko po dapat pag-aralan po mabuti yan. Sa ngayon ay tutol po kami dyan dahil kulang na kulang po ang public transportasyon, no? At mahihirapan po ang pag-i-implement yan, no? Dahil po marami pa po tayong kababayan na hindi pa po fully vaccinated. Paano naman po sila makakasakay ng public transportation kung ipagbabawal po natin o pipiliin po natin o magkakaroon po tayo ng mga segregated units para naman po sa mga vaccinated.
Ano?
Isang malaking injustice kung mananatili sa isip ng marami na si Ferdinand hindi nagmahal sa bayan. He loved this country so much that he was willing to sacrifice the presidency when he could have definitely attacked the people there at EDSA.
Si Marcos talaga really made a mark in who we are in international politics. No?
But if you compare what he did for our country during the time he was president, no one should ever be sorry that we had Marcos for a president.
Kung ikumpara mo yung good points ni Marcos at saka yung good points ng ibang naging presidente natin mula sa kalingkingan yung iba.
Since the Marcos administration, I don't know, have we really got it off the ground?
Only history can rightfully judge President Marcos.
A story born 100 years ago of a noble man whose life is worth reliving and looking back to.
He's the only president with a national strategy.
You'd think that Marcos was the bogeyman, etc. But he was actually a very kind person.
The way that the Marcoses promoted the country, promoted the Filipino, is something I think that cannot be equaled in any administration.
His story speaks of the great Filipino dream, a father of a nation, in conquest for absolute freedom, true justice, and real democracy for the Filipinos.
The great slogan that he followed was, he wanted this nation to be great again.
He was the one who was actually seeking for an independent foreign policy out of the ambit, out of the axis of the United States. It was President Marcos who declared for the first time what is now known as the Calayan Group of Islands as subject to the sovereignty of the Philippines.
The President also wanted a negotiation with the United States about the termination of parity in 1974.
Yung ginawa ni President Park Chung-hee sa may Korea ay yung strategy ni President Marcos na ang pinakamataas na level of development ng Pilipinas over the last 50 years ay nung panahon ni President Marcos, specifically during the earlier years of martial law.
His story is a story of wisdom and goodwill, a story of a visionary leader with a strong political will who realized the Filipino potential and propelled the nation to progress.
Mr. Marcos provided a lot more impetus in creating programs of government that meant building of infrastructure in a very essential way. All these things moved forward in his time very rapidly in the 4 years that he was in charge.
Because that's the whole history of the energy policy. And that energy policy is being followed now. Agriculture, you should, I mean, look what Manny Piñol is doing. He's following Masagana 99, di ba? Kay Marcos yun.
His story is a story of character.
A war veteran who went to Bataan and picked up some soil and put it in a ziplock and sent it to you. Kinuha niya. Alam mo, nung pagkakuha niya, tumalikod sa akin, bumalik sa kwarto, tapos nakikita ko na lang yung kanyang shoulders. Umiiyak.
Minsan, hindi ko nakita magalit. Pag medyo may problem, may crisis doon sa Makiki, tawagin niyo si Father, magsisimba na lang tayo. Pag may mga balita, minsan hindi ko nakita nagmura against the government. Basta tulungan na lang natin. Ganun.
Isang malaking injustice kung mananatili sa isip ng marami na si Ferdinand hindi nagmahal sa bayan. He loved this country so much that he was willing to sacrifice the presidency when he could have definitely attacked the people there at EDSA.
A story of a strong man whose life was reduced by a chapter of our history.
I have proclaimed martial law in accordance with the powers vested in the President by the Constitution of the Philippines. Deklarang martial law to solve yung communist insurgency tsaka yung Muslim secessionism.
Yung kaguluhan na yon, hindi naman si President Ferdinand Marcos ang nagdala o ang dahilan ng mga kaguluhan na yun. It was a phase when it was hip puso ang lumaban sa gobyerno.
A story born 100 years ago about life, leadership, and legacy waiting to be retold.
Si Marcos talaga really made a mark in who we are in international politics. No?
But if you compare what he did for our country during the time he was president, no one should ever be sorry that we had Marcos for a president.
Kung ikumpara mo yung good points ni Marcos at saka yung good points ng ibang naging presidente natin mula sa kalingkingan yung iba.
Since the Marcos administration, I don't know, have you really gotten off the ground?
Only history can rightfully judge President Marcos.
This is history. This is the story of Marcos. Marcos 100.
My father's fervent wish that when he came to the end of his days, that he be buried in a simple soldier's ceremony. This was in keeping with his idea that he was but a soldier doing his duty, a citizen serving his country. We have waited 27 years to fulfill that wish that he left us with. But we are here today, and we are able to grant him that wish. In keeping with his desires, we will keep these ceremonies simple. And it is left to the family, and I speak in their behalf, on behalf of the Marcos family, to thank all those who actually helped and made this day a reality. We thank President Rodrigo Duterte for his recognition of my father's service to the nation. We thank all the members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines who have here come to pay their last respects to their former Commander-in-Chief. We thank all the members of the Philippine National Police for the support that they have given us in these ceremonies that we are having today. And to the Filipino people for their continuing support of my father's dream of unity and progress for our country. So let today be the first day amongst many days and months and years of our continuing to work for the unity and the progress of our country. Let us be the heroes that my father asked us all to be, and finally bring the Filipino nation together, and finally bring the Filipinos to greatness.
I would die 1,000 deaths and more for my motherland. Ferdinand Edralin Marcos, former President of the Republic of the Philippines, a legislator, a Secretary of National Defense, a World War II veteran, a Medal of Valor awardee, a soldier lived with such fervent duty and loyalty in serving his countrymen. Major Ferdinand Edralin Marcos was regarded as the most decorated hero of the World War II for receiving high honors and commendations, which include the Medal of Valor. Selfless service, integrity, and personal courage defined his extraordinary accomplishments as a young Filipino soldier who was subjected to torture by oppressors, fought in desolate battlefields, and conquered the Japanese invasion in the country. Battles of Pesang Pass and the infamous Death March.
When the Philippines obtained independence, his undying commitment to service continued as he pursued his political career after topping the bar examination in 1939 with 98% rating, the highest record in Philippine history. Ferdinand Marcos was elected thrice as representative of Ilocos Norte from 1949 to 1959. He became the Senate President from 1963 to 1965, where he was regarded as son of the legislators who introduced the most number of significant bills. A war hero, Ferdinand Edralin Marcos later served as Secretary of National Defense in 1965. Carrying the same mission of serving his country and fellow, Ferdinand Edralin Marcos was elected thrice as President of the Republic of the Philippines from 1965 to 1986. As one of the youngest elected president in history, he made a vision for the Philippines. This nation can be great again, and began realizing it by establishing numerous state colleges and universities, iconic infrastructure projects, primary healthcare facilities, enacting rural electrification program, among others. He also led educational reforms which widened free access to schools, agrarian reforms which led to the country's food sufficiency record, and labor reforms and opportunities which boosted employment potentials of Filipinos here and abroad.
Today, we honor a true patriot who willingly sacrificed his life for his country and people. For almost 3 decades of waiting, we have come to the right time to finally lay him to rest, to where he wished to be laid, beside his fellow soldier and comrades. If there are no heroics now, from whom will future generations derive their inspiration? He said. May we then be all heroes in our own ways, as President Ferdinand Edralin Marcos did his own toll in big battles of life and create the best vision for the next generation, the great vision which he inherited from his promise. For every tear you shed, there will be a victory.
As we put him to rest, may we, the people of the Republic of the Philippines, finally unite this politically divided nation and uphold the spirit of true reconciliation. With one mind, one heart, one soul, and one spirit, let us embrace national peace, healing, and unity. Salamat, Apo. Salamat, President Ferdinand Edralin Marcos.
I may have committed many sins in my life, but stealing money from the people and from the government is not one of them. You know, when I proclaimed martial law, I didn't proclaim martial law alone. It is made to appear as if I just signed the decree and said, I impose martial law on each and every one of you. No. I asked the legislature to please pass a law proclaiming martial law because there was anarchy in the country. Now, let me say this. The opposition was strong, and they were members of the Security Council, and somehow they had adopted a resolution which required that there be a unanimous vote for the armed forces to be able to move. And therefore the armed forces was immobilized. At the same time, I asked the opposition party to come and join me in a coalition government. I offered one half of the cabinet. And of course they laughed at me and said, why should we join you? We're going to take over the government. By the time you are through with the exercise, you're dead, politically and otherwise. So, and they refused to join me. I asked the advice of the judiciary. I asked the Supreme Court justices, the Court of Appeals justices, and the members of the private sector. And all of them told me there's only one man who can proclaim martial law, and that is the President. And you are it. You are the only one who can proclaim martial law. This is why I must carry this particular mark in our history. I could not have transferred it to the legislature. Why? Because the legislature did not have the power. What does the Constitution provide? The President shall be the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and he may order the armed forces out to quell any disorder, riot, rebellion, invasion, insurrection, and in case of invasion, insurrection, rebellion, or imminent danger thereof, when the public safety requires it, he may suspend the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus or proclaim martial law throughout the Philippines or any part thereof. What does that provision provide? It provides that only the President can proclaim martial law. I repeat, that is why I had to assume responsibility. And I am not one for shirking duty. The people said there was necessity for proclaiming martial law. And the people said, you are the only official who can proclaim martial law. So I proclaimed martial law, and I sincerely believed that it was necessary to proclaim martial law to install order and stability because there was complete anarchy throughout the country at the time. Now, therefore, at that particular period, what was the status of our government? Our government was immobilized, impotent. The armed forces could not move out. The industry was not at all in any way moving. There was no income coming into government. Everybody was running away. They burned the U.S. Partly burned the U.S. Embassy, tried to burn it anyway. They tried to kidnap the American ambassador. American ambassador was by road, Ambassador by road. But whatever it is, they burned the Manila International Airport, they bombed the Supreme Court, they bombed the Constitutional Convention, they bombed the City Hall, they burned part of Malacanang Palace, they attempted to kidnap my children, they attempted to kill the President 8 times. There was, of course, an attempted assassination against the First Lady. You all know about that. What we have asked is this. We want a study. What is it that is necessary in order that we can perform our job? You and I know that if the Philippines is attacked, the United States is not necessarily bound to immediately react because the provision of the Mutual Defense Pact is that you will immediately take steps as is necessary to meet the contingency in accordance with your constitutional processes. What does that mean? That means that you go to the Senate and the House of Representatives. What does that mean? That means delay while we are dying there. 75% of our cities were devastated in the last war. we lost 1 million men. Shall I quote you the statements of Roosevelt and MacArthur that every Carabao will be paid for? Shall I tell you that the veterans who were inducted into the USAF, the United States Armed Forces of the Philippines, of the Far East, your armed forces, were paid only 1/2 the salary of your soldiers? Shall I tell you that we almost turned communists because you refused to recognize us? Shall I tell you that I had a difficult time stopping my guerrillas, 25,000 of them from joining the communists, because precisely you sort of forgot that we had done the fighting for you, you know. And it is not fair to accuse the Philippines of any violation of human rights when there has been no violation. Though if there has been any violation, we punish those who have violated. Do you think that if there was any corruption by the Marcos family, that we can maintain the present prestige and leadership of the Marcoses in the Philippines? What do you think the Filipinos are? They are a very literate people. Literacy in the Philippines has increased up to 90% nationwide, and in Manila it is 100% literacy. It was in the dark, and there were doubts and misgivings. There were fears that you were tiring, you were weary, you doubted your own strength, you didn't know where you were going. But now there is hope. It's still partly in the shadows, but it's trying to emerge. But we have a program which harnesses the energies of those who are half employed, like those who are in the farms. You see, those who wait for the coconuts to fall or who plant rice are partly employed. And so we allow them to engage in what we call small, medium-scale industries, contract work. Where, in what country do you see, say, a boot block? A boot block. Go to a rural bank and say, look, I used to borrow money from this usurious lender here. I borrow 5 pesos in the morning, I have to pay him 6 pesos in the afternoon. Can't you lend me 50 pesos now and I will repay you later on? I have no collateral, I am unknown, I live in the streets. And in what country will you see the rural bank lend this boot block money? After looking at his shoe shine stand and gathering all the other shoe shine boys and putting them to work and getting them to repay this indebtedness, not in a week, but perhaps even in a day. Or fishermen who live a hand-to-mouth existence. Even here, in your prosperous United States, can a poor fisherman go to a bank and borrow money on his name, on his signature? He cannot. But here in the Philippines, he can. A poor fisherman can go to the bank and say, look, I live in so-and-so, and the chairman of my village can certify that I am a poor fisherman. And I would like to organize a group. Can you lend us 5,000 so I can buy a motor, I can buy a net, I can buy a small boat, and we can improve our earnings. And under our laws, we have set aside funds which then are lent out. And we have been able to lend out about 1,200,000,000 pesos under this scheme, and they have been repaid. They have been repaid, and that's the worst part about it, isn't it? Many people don't believe it, but they have been repaid.
The other day, I was invited by Secretary Harry Roque to go on his show, which is one of these public service shows that he does weekly. And by coincidence, this show was shot or taped in Malacanang Palace. So he was doing another interview. So in the meantime, I was able to walk around and look what the old palace looks like now. Like the palace has always been, many of the rooms have been repurposed. It's no longer used in the same way. But then it's always been that way. The rooms always changed their functions as time went on, and according to need and according to availability. But it touches you in a certain spot, because this is where you spent your childhood. And the little corners all have memories too. Every little place means something, because this happened there. I fell over there. This is where I fought with my sister. This is where we made up, and that sort of thing. Opisina ito dati. Nung ginagawa yung palasyo, dito nag-opisina yung father ko eh. Ito, hindi ito conference hall noon. Ibang ginawa dito. It's nice to bring back those childhood memories when life was so simple and so straightforward. Amy and I would have this really drag out, screaming matches, and then eventually actual fights. We would run after each other with intent to harm. We had a classic fight. Naghabulan kami ng itak. The only thing we used to really fight about was books. When one of us had a nice book, what would happen is that we say, okay, when you're finished with it, I'll have it. I want to read it. But of course, the person who's waiting cannot wait any longer. They'll steal it. So the other one will fight, and the whole household will explode. But we don't do that anymore. I remember once my mother was singing, and we had guests, and they were saying, "My gosh, Madam First Lady, you are such a romantic, not like your husband." And my father was sort of taken aback and said, no, quite the contrary. If there is no romance, there is no courage. And that's the way he thought. The soft side was what motivated him to do all of these hard things. And of course, when it's work, it's the hard things, the tough things that he had to do. And that's what people see. But that derives, or the root of the passion, of the determination to do something good, comes from love. I mean, comes from dedication, comes from sense of duty and nationalism. What we hear right now, especially with the dominant voices right now who are in opposition to him, is more of a caricature of somebody that they would like for people to believe. I knew the man. He was the president, but he was also my father. And he really was my friend. Ano yan?
Play niya yung announcement ng Marshall.
First of all, the portrayal of him by his opposition, especially the demonization of my dad. That's just, if you knew him and you've seen the way he works and the things he does and the things that he worries about, it just doesn't have any connection to what he really was as a man. That's why it's easy for us to just look at these detractors and say, yeah, I guess that's what you want us to believe, but that's simply not the case. This idea or this feeling or this, shall we say, opinion I have of my father, of the man, has just been strengthened as time goes on. You'd think when you grow up, you say, well, I was a kid, siguro kala hindi ko naintindihan what was really going on. But the more I see, the more I learn, the wiser, hopefully, I'm getting. I can see that that's really the way he was. That's really the person he was, and that he meant it. This wasn't propaganda for him. The things that he said were not, he meant it. That was really what he was trying to do. There's propaganda and there's the truth. Marami tayong kasabihan, bilog ang mundo, the pendulum will always swing back, all of these things. But I think it really derives from the fact that, you know, whereas other people will say that this is what we believe, this is what we would like to do, they haven't really backed it up. Whereas when he said, I'm going to build a nation, he did. He built the nation. He did all of these things that even never mind the systems or the political thinking that he tried to espouse and to endorse and to put into our system. Beyond that, just the physical evidence of all the work that he did to build this country up. He has that. Nobody else does. And that's why. It serves to look at it as objectively as possible and recognize there's propaganda in all political rhetoric. I mean, that's just part of it. So we try to get beyond that and try to see what actually happened. We are still in a situation where there are very, very, very many people who were around in the time of my father's administration, and ask them, what was it like? How were you treated? Did life improve? Did it get worse? Did people care? Did they not care? I always say, don't listen to me. I'm his son. Of course I'll defend him. Of course I'll say he did the right thing. But look at the record. Look at actual. If you cannot go through all the rhetoric, all the opinion, all of the academic analyses, just look at the record in quantitative terms. What did he actually do? How did life improve? What were things how many schools did he build? How many institutions did he strengthen? All of those things. I mean, there are objective tests to the success of a government, of an administration. Use those objective tests. I encourage them. Use those objective tests on his administration, and we'll see how he does. And I think he will account for himself very, very well. The saying, the quotation keeps coming back to me. You can fool some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time. But you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. And that's where we are. We know that eventually once the dominant partisan politics has been slowly shown for what it is by President Duterte. So they no longer have the monopoly on the narrative, and we are now, everyone else is allowed to say what they truly believe, what they experience, and what they think. Since my father's time, is the first person to say, like the child in the story, the emperor has no clothes.
It was my father's fervent wish that when he came to the end of his days, that he be buried in a simple soldier's ceremony. We have waited 27 years to fulfill that wish that he left us with. We thank President Rodrigo Duterte for his recognition of my father's service to the nation.
Before we start, especially on a big national campaign, you take surveys and you try and find out what's the, where am I strong, where am I weak, what issues are important, that sort of thing. That's the usual sort of thing. And they're saying that, you know, don't take such a hard line about your dad, and, you know, just stay away from your dad, and just, you know, because that immediately brings you into other territory where there's a built-in opposition. And the number was, that you would easily get 30%. Then I said, I simply can't do that. I said, why? Because if I sort of denied him, it's denying me, because I'm a product of him. I just don't see how it could be done. I mean, to pretend, no, I'm not part of any of it. Of course I'm part of that. I'm his son. I'm the same name. I'm running on the same policies, on the same issues. My public life is being directed and motivated by him. So it's just not doable. I mean, what am I going to do? Run around pretending I'm somebody that I'm not? That would be the height of falsehood, and I don't want to indulge in that.
Kasi, bale, both parents are very active in politics. Do you think that is what has led you to go into this kind of life?
Oh, hindi mo maiiwasan. There is no way. The only way you can explain my having entered politics is definitely because of how my father really that he even said it in his when he was still alive that he would say, I have committed not only myself to the work that I have done. I have not committed only my person, but my wife and my family too. And the time will come when you will find that you have no choice. Not to enter politics, but perhaps in the positions, in the kind of causes that we would champion. So, matagal na talagang alam na namin na kahit papano, yung ginawa ng aming ama will affect us for the rest of our lives, in whatever fashion. So, and it's turning out to be true, because how can something that dominant be suddenly just go away? So kahit na ngayon ilang taon na ito, we're still feeling the effects of what my father did, and I have no doubt to the day I die I will be feeling those effects. I try to think sometimes. I do think of this, and I say, what would my dad, if he was there looking down, what's he saying? I think he'd be laughing. Honestly, because, and sometimes, when I'm going through, when things are tough, and it's like, oh God, how do I do this? What am I going to do? I can almost hear his what? Oh, mahirap ano? Mahirap ano? Sige, kaya mo yan, pero mahirap ano? And I can almost hear him saying that. So I think that would be his attitude. He has confidence that you can do it, but he's sort of entertained that, you didn't think it was going to be this hard, did you?
Ayun, so yun mga kaibigan, napakinggan nyo, no? Si Senator Bongbong Marcos, at syempre yung konting autobiography, no, ng dating Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos. So sa totoo lang mga kaibigan, ibalik tanaw natin, ano, kasi ako medyo naabutan ko ng kapraso lang, ha? Ito si Joshua, yung aking technical engineer dito, hindi niya naabutan si Marcos, no? Yung Ferdinand. Pero si Bongbong kilala na nito. At kilala ba si Bongbong? Oo. Pero si Ferdinand hindi, hindi niya naabutan kasi bata pa ito. Ako, bata pa rin, kaso bata ang isip lang nga. Ayun, ganun lang. So, naabutan ko kasi noon talaga maganda yung Marcos time, no? Actually, may mga nagsasabi na hindi rin maganda panahon ni Marcos, etc. Ang totoo niya, panahon ng ating dating Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos, ay wala mga loko nung araw, at ang mga tao, lalo na ang kriminal, takot po sa otoridad. Hindi po kagaya ngayon, yung panahon ngayon, makikita nyo yung mga masasamang elemento, nakikipagbarilan pa sa mga pulis. Okay, so mga kaibigan, ang oras natin alas 6:31 na po ng gabi, Philippine Standard Time. At tuloy-tuloy po tayo. Siyempre ako pa rin inyong kasama, Rosel Lopez, at sa ating technical side, kasama natin si Joshua Baltao. Tama ba? Baltao. Ano apelyido? Molan. Mulat. Sumulat. Ayun. Si Joshua Baltaw Sumulat. Ayun. Siya na po ang ating magiging bagong technical engineer dito sa technical side. At medyo kinakapa niya pa ho. Magaling sa kapaan to si Joshua. Di ba? So ayan mga kaibigan. At yun, magandang gabi rin kay Joel Cabusora Regindin. Nanonood sa atin buhat po sa lalawigan ng Ilocos Sur pa yan. At sabi naman ni Kagawad Sanidad at Pineda, good day, idol. Ayan. At si Becky Cruz, ang ating friendship, abay nanonood pa rin, no? At si si Ma'am Malen, tama ba? Ma'am Milan Lianto Waniko, ayan, nanonood sa atin. Game pa rin si Ma'am Evelyn Lim Matsuo mula sa Japan. Okay mga kaibigan, tuloy-tuloy tayo, napanood nyo na. Sa inyo, sino ho ang nakaabot sa panahon ng Marcos time? Ito si Kagawad Sanidad at Pineda, wag mo sabing di mo inabot. Bata ka pa rin o Kagawad. Inabot mo yung panahon ng Marcos. Huwag ka magbata-bataan. Alam ko, isip bata ka lang, pero hindi ka na bata. Ha? Alam ko, inabot mo si Pangulong Marcos. No? Nga lang, bata ka pa na. Si Ate Josie Francisco. Ate Jo, naabutan mo ba si dating Pangulong Marcos? Ayun, at sinasabi ko kasi po, maganda ho panahon ng Marcos dahil noon, naalala ko, bata pa ako, ang candy ho noon, 5-5. Kung tawagin ho yun, is candying hubad. Iba-iba kulay, matamis siya, nakababad sa asukal, 5-5 lang yun, ha? Isipin nyo, 5 piraso, 5 lang, may 5 candy ka na. At ewan ko si Kuya Rolando Tequilio Mendez, kung naabutan ang dating Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos, naabutan mo ba, Kuyang? At si Josar Lasin, ganda naman ang sounds mo, boss. Aba, siyempre. Abay, sinend sa akin yan ang aking technical engineer kanina. Ha? Sinend sa akin yung mga tugtog na yan. Ayan, sabi niya, shout out sa Team Kamote. Shout out daw sa Team Kamote kay Kyle Dukusin Lasin at si Giancarlo Baruela, si Sal Bakuta. At siyempre ang kanilang founder, si Josar Lasin. Tama ba yun? Shout out sa Team Kamote. Talaga naman, no? Hindi ba po pwedeng ibahin natin? Medyo marami ng Team Kamote. Mag-isip kayo ng ibang maganda-ganda. Josar, ikaw ba'y nasa pinipihitan mo na? Nandiyan ka na ba sa baka mamaya magkaroon ka ng bilog sa ulo, ha? Dahil yung religious yan yung pinupuntahan mo, religious. Okay, Team Kamote, magandang gabi sa inyo. Siyempre sa pangunan nyo ng leader, si Josar Lasin, at siyempre si Kyle Dukusin Lasin, at si Giancarlo Baruela, si Sal Bakuta. Abay, papanood mo sa kanila yung ating Millennial Online TV. Baka mamaya yung mga nandiyan religious sector na yan, baka gusto mag-program dito sa Millennial, abay po pwede tayo, religious program. Oo, nilagyan ko ng effects yung mic, nilagyan ko, gusto ko may effects para naman may dating. Bakit? Di ba pwede yun, Josar? Di ba pwede yun? Talaga nilagyan ko ng konting effects, no, para naman kahit paano may effects yung mic natin. Ang pangit, mas pangit ka pa. O yan, meron pa ba? May sabi ni Josar, pangit daw yung effects, Joshua, doon sa microphone ko. Parang sabi, alam mo, pagka may echo, mas may dating, ha? Hindi naman sobra. Ayan nga, wala pa nga sa kalahati, Ikaw talaga. O yan, meron na ba? Okay na? Josar? Okay, alas 6:35 na po ng gabi, Philippine Standard Time. At ngayon mga kaibigan, kung naalala nyo, merong mga nagkaroon ng issue tungkol dyan sa mga overpricing daw ng Department of Health, ng DOH, dyan po sa mga sinasabing face shield, face mask. So, panoorin po natin, yung pagbanat po ng isang Congressman Agapay ba yun? Kung di ako nagkakamali, Congressman Agapay, no? Kay Senator Richard Gordon, na kung saan parang hindi yata tama o mali ang pag-aakusa ni Senator Gordon. So mga kaibigan, panoorin po natin yung kay Senator Gordon.
presidential elections. It is like clockwork to topple the frontliner in the next elections. In 2010, Senator Manny Villar was the frontliner, and they did this hearing with the alleged double insertion of the C5 extension. Then again in 2016, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee also did this to former Vice President Jojo Binay for his alleged asyenda in Batangas. Now, they are doing it again with the alleged overpriced equipment purchased for Mali Pharmaceutical. Nadinig na po natin ang istorya na to. Let us not waste the Filipino people's time. Let us not distract our cabinet officials from the true task at hand, and that is to continue fighting the virus. Let us not waste taxpayers' money by holding more hearings. Let us not make use of these hearings to further political ambition. Let us finish the discussions as soon as we have clarity on the subject. As chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, let me announce that this committee shall lead by example and finish this matter by today or the latest Friday, even if it means extending until nighttime. Wala pong pahinga para lang tapusin ito. And when it is clear that corruption was present or not present, the House Blue Ribbon Committee shall rest its case and end the hearing. Wala nang paligoy-ligoy na. On that note, let us begin today's hearing. Let us be all reminded to remain on topic at hand so we can proceed and focus on our real job, and that is to find and implement ways to defeat COVID-19. Thank you very much and magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Sir, can we request for the documents of all the biddings, or not biddings pala, all the procurement documents of the 41 billion transferred to DBMPS from the DOH by Friday, before Friday, Thursday? Can you submit it to the Secretariat, Sir Jonas?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will comply.
Director Jonas, nandun ba kayo sa Senate nung Friday, last week, hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Narinig niyo ba yung sinabi ni Chairman ng Blue Ribbon na payag na siya na walang overpricing basta merong fraud and waste and abuse?
I believe that's correct, Mr. Chair.
So sinabi niya talaga yun kasi wala ako dun na nabasa ko lang sa transcript. So tama po ba yun?
I think so, Mr. Chair. I heard it that way, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, in your opinion, since you took over, when did you took over?
I assumed my position as Operations Group, as OIC, last March 2021.
So ito, syempre busy na kayo sa mahiling, naka-7 hearing na ang Blue Ribbon. So nireview mo na ba lahat ng dokumento doon sa mga subject at hand, itong subject at hand nung inunahan na i-hear ng Senate? Nireview naman po niyo, Sir Jonas?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So now we are still currently reviewing all the documents procured during, with respect to the items and goods procured during the Bayanihan 1.
So, masasabi niyo po ba may overprice doon sa subject at hand, yung formally purchases?
Mr. Chair, I can only rely on the documents and on the statements made.
Kasi naggawa ng market scan, di ba? Naggawa ng market scan yung mga predecessor mo. So, based on documents, is there overprice?
Based on the documents, if we refer to the market scanning, Mr. Chair, the prices of the items procured at that time were below the SRP and were below the market prices conducted by the price monitoring team.
Meron po akong sasabihin na statement. You can say you agree or disagree. Normally po sa gobyerno, pag may corruption, isang bagay lang yan magagaling. Yung overprice. Tama o mali? Kung meron, doon magagaling yun. Tama o mali?
I agree, Mr. Chair.
So, ibig sabihin, pag kunyari, 15 pesos ang isang mask, tapos binili mo ng 27 pesos, magkano yung overprice?
That's
hypothetical to, hypothetical.
Again, Mr. Chair, pardon?
Kung 15 pesos talaga ang mask sa merkado, pero 27 binili, magkano ang overprice?
That's 12 pesos overpriced, Mr. Chair.
So itong 12 pesos, dito ang magiging source ng corruption. Tama po ba?
Probably, Mr. Chair.
So, kung wala tong overprice, walang corruption, tama? Corruption is yung money na paghatian, presumably. So, if walang overprice, walang corruption, is that statement correct?
We can assume to that effect, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Undersecretary Lloyd Lau, are you online? Can we request for the documents, Jonas? Abangan namin yan, ha?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will comply. We will submit before the hearing on Friday.
Sir Lloyd Lau,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Chairman.
I will ask you the same series of questions. Narinig niyo ba yung statement ni Senator Chairman ng Blue Ribbon nung last hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Is the quote accurate? Payag na ako, Mr. President, walang overprice. Basta may fraud, wastage, and what's the other one? Fraud, waste, and abuse. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, Mr. Chairman.
So, in a setting, sinabi ko nga, normally, ang corruption ay galing sa overpricing. Do you agree or disagree?
I will agree, Mr. Chairman.
So, pag, kunyari lang, hypothetical, 15 pesos ang mask sa merkado, pero 27 ang binili. Hypothetically, magkano yung overprice?
Hypothetically, that would be roughly around more than around 10 pesos to 12 pesos, Mr. Chairman.
Talagang walang corruption, Mr. Lloyd Lau, kasi hindi ka marunong mabilis magbilang eh. Kaya tingin ko wala talagang corruption eh, tagal mo magbilang. So 12 pesos. Itong 12 pesos ba na to ang magiging source ng hypothetically ng overpriced?
Possibly, Mr. Chairman.
Ito ba magiging source pala ng corruption?
Possibly, Mr. Chairman, based on the price difference.
Doon sa time mo ba, you are under oath. Did you have overprice on the mask bought from any supplier?
No, Mr. Chairman. We did not have any overprice. In fact, we're trying to get it as low as possible, prevailing circumstances during that time.
So parehas na kayo sinabi ni Chairman ng Blue Ribbon Senate at ikaw, walang overprice. So kung walang overprice, walang corruption. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, Mr.
Tama po ba masabi ko yung statement na yun?
That is accurate, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think that was already confirmed by the Commission on Audit Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Yusek Lau. Punta na tayo. Hindi kita paparesto, huwag ka matakot. Baka nakikita kita natatakot sa kabila eh. So, punta tayo kay Farmali. Any representative, the highest ranking official of Farmali? Hello, Mr. Lincoln Ong. Mr. Lincoln Ong. Mr. Wang Zhuxian, President.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm present.
You are under oath, Mr. Wang Zhuxian.
Yes, Mr. President.
Did you give any kickback, meaning money, bribe money, to win this project?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Did you give favors, other non-monetary favors to people in government?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wang Zhuxian, are you familiar with the GPPB Circular 01-2020? Are you familiar with that circular?
Through the hearings conducted, we are familiar with the circular. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
In that circular, it says that your company needs to have technical and financial capability to handle the project. Do you have that technical and financial capability to handle the project that you joined?
Mr. Chairman, I just wish to state that we were able to deliver fully on all the deliveries and contracts before getting any advance payment. So in terms of any compliance issued to us, that we have been fully compliant.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask this last question to the same question and my last to the two previous. Lloyd Lau, are you online?
Mr. Chairman, I am online, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I'd ask you my final question. Did you comply with the requirement of the GBBB that those who take that project, even though there's no bidding, should have technical and financial capability? Did they pass that formally, Lloyd?
On the contracts with Farmali, Mr. Chairman, what we followed is Bayanihan 1, which requires very limited basis. So ang ginamit na namin doon is mayor's permit, ITR, and OSS, Omnibus Sworn Statement. However, to answer that question whether or not we follow the technical specifications as required by GPPB, although it is not a mandatory requirement during the time because Bayanihan 1 exempted us, we have also taken that into consideration. And the fact that our primary consideration during the time is they actually have those items delivered and that payment was only made after delivery. So with that, financial capacity is already answered and technical capacity is answered on the fact that when they delivered, proper inspection was conducted and upon inspection by both PSDBM staff and DOH personnel, pasado ang mga items. So technical specifications, pasado sila. Financial specifications, pasado din sila kasi they delivered, in fact, without advance payment on the part. So that by itself is proof that they have the capacity. Yun po, Mr. Chair.
Ano po yung sinasabi na 625,000 paid up capital? Ano masasagot nyo doon?
A simple analogy, Mr. Chairman. Pag nagbebenta ako ng motor, may pupunta, bibili ng Mio, sasabihin niya, utangin niya, I will ask for his ID, ITR, and post-dated checks or certificate of employment as proof na magbabayan siya. Pero pag may pumunta din sa office ko, sasabihin niya, bibili ako ng Mio, may cash ako dito, 80,000, yun yung presyo ng Mio, hindi ko siya, ang hihingin ko lang sa kanya is ID. I will not ask for PDC kasi may cash na siya. In this instance, si Farmally din, nung pupunta sa office, may dala silang items. They have it on hand. They are not asking for down payment. They say they will deliver and we will only pay after delivery and after inspection. Then there is no risk on the part of the government whether or not they will have financial capacity. The fact that they delivered, hindi sila na blacklist, it means they have the financial capacity. Proof of capacity is actual delivery. And they did deliver.
We have seen this before. The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee holds highly publicized hearing 6 to 8 months before the presidential elections. It is like clockwork to topple the frontliner in the next elections. In 2010, Senator Manny Villar was the frontliner. And they did this hearing with the alleged double insertion of the C5 extension. Then again in 2016, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee also did this to former Vice President Jojo Binay for his alleged asyenda in Batangas. Now, they are doing it again with the alleged overpriced equipment purchased for Farmally Pharmaceutical. Nadinig na po natin ang istorya na to. Let us not waste the Filipino people's time. Let us not distract our cabinet officials from the true task at hand, and that is to continue fighting the virus. Let us not waste taxpayers' money by holding more hearings. Let us not make use of these hearings to further political ambition. Let us finish the discussions as soon as we have clarity on the subject. As chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, let me announce that this committee shall lead by example and finish this matter by today or the latest Friday, even if it means extending until nighttime. Wala pong pahinga para lang tapusin ito. And when it is clear that corruption was present or not present, the House Blue Ribbon Committee shall rest its case and end the hearing. Wala nang paligoy-ligoy na. On that note, let us begin today's hearing. Let us be all reminded to remain on topic at hand so we can proceed and focus on our real job, and that is to find and implement ways to defeat COVID-19. Thank you very much and magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Sir, can we request for the documents of all the biddings, or not biddings pala, all the procurement documents of the 41 billion transferred to DBMPS from the DOH by Friday, before Friday, Thursday? Can you submit it to the Secretariat, Sir Jonas?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will comply.
Director Jonas, nandun ba kayo sa Senate nung Friday, last week, hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Narinig nyo ba yung sinabi ni Chairman ng Blue Ribbon na payag na siya na walang overpricing basta merong fraud and waste and abuse?
I believe that's correct, Mr. Chair.
So sinabi niya talaga yun kasi wala ako dun na nabasa ko lang sa transcript. So tama po ba yun?
I think so, Mr. Chair. I heard it that way, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, in your opinion, since you took over, when did you took over?
I assumed my position as operations group as OIC last March 2021.
So ito, syempre busy na kayo sa mga hearing, naka 7 hearing na ang Blue Ribbon. So nireview mo na ba lahat ng dokumento doon sa mga subject at hand, itong subject at hand nung inunahan na i-hear ng Senate? Nireview naman po niyo, Sir Jonas?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So now we are still currently reviewing all the documents procured during, with respect to the items and goods procured during the Bayanihan 1.
So, masasabi niyo po ba may overprice doon sa subject at hand, yung formally purchases?
Mr. Chair, I can only rely on the documents and on the statements made.
Yes, kasi naggawa ng market scan, di ba? Naggawa ng market scans yung mga predecessor mo. So, based on documents, is there overprice?
Based on the documents, if we refer to the market scanning, Mr. Chair, the prices of the items procured at that time were below the SRP and were below the market prices conducted by the price monitoring team.
Meron po akong sasabihin na statement. You can say you agree or disagree. Normally po sa gobyerno, pag may corruption, isang bagay lang yan magagaling. Yung overprice. Tama o mali? Kung meron, doon magagaling yun. Tama o mali?
I agree, Mr. Chair.
So, ibig sabihin, pag kunyari, 15 pesos ang isang mask, tas binili mo ng 27 pesos, magkano yung overprice?
That's
hypothetical to, hypothetical.
Again, Mr. Chair, pardon.
Kung 15 pesos talaga ang mask sa merkado, pero 27 binili, magkano ang overprice?
That's 12 pesos overpriced, Mr. Chair.
So itong 12 pesos, dito ang magiging source ng corruption. Tama po ba?
Probably, Mr. Chair.
So, kung wala tong overprice, walang corruption. Tama? Corruption is yung money na paghahatian, presumably. So, if walang overprice, walang corruption, is that statement correct?
We can assume to that effect, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Undersecretary Lloyd Lau, are you online? Can we request for the documents, Jonas? Abangan namin yan, ha?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will comply. We will submit before the hearing on Friday.
Sir Lloyd Lau?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Chairman.
I will ask you the same series of questions. Narinig niyo ba yung statement ni Senator Chairman ng Blue Ribbon nung last hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Is the quote accurate? Payag na ako, Mr. President, walang overprice. Basta may fraud, wastage, and what's the other one? Fraud, waste, and abuse. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, Mr. Chairman.
So, in a setting, sinabi ko nga, normally, ang corruption ay galing sa overpricing. Do you agree or disagree?
I will agree, Mr. Chairman.
So, pag kunyari lang, presidential elections, it is like clockwork to topple the frontliner in the next elections. In 2010, Senator Manny Villar was the frontliner. And they did this...
Ayun, so ayun mga kaibigan, napanood nyo no, yung naging talakayan na yung daw mga punto ni Senator Gordon ay pahiya. Aba yan po, hindi tayo ang nakakaalam. Sila po ang nakakaalam niyan dahil sila po ang mga nakapwesto, sila ang mga mambabatas, ay sila po ang nakakaalam kung mali, kung tama, kung mali ang mga akusasyon, kung mali ang mga investigasyon na kanilang ginagawa. Okay mga kaibigan, tuloy-tuloy po tayo. Oras natin alas 6:56 po ng gabi. 4 na minuto na lang, ikapito na po ng gabi. Philippine Standard Time. Siyempre, ako pa rin ang inyong kasama, kakwentuhan, kajamming dito sa programang Tropa, Rosel Lopez. At kasama natin sa technical side, si Joshua Baltao. Ano nga muli? sumulat. Ayan. Makakalimutin talaga ako. Talagang ganyan talaga pagka nagte-tenders na. Bata pa kasi ito si Joshua. Joshua Baltaw Sumulat. Ayan. Okay, at magandang gabi rin kay Ka Armando Gonzales po ng lokal ng Tinejeros dyan sa Malabon. Good evening sa iyo, Tol. At siyempre, kay Romel Martinez, yung ating kaibigan, katropa ring licensed massage therapist. Nakasama po nila Ma'am Jackie Adahar, Jen Trono, Haji Crespo, at siyempre, ang pinakamatikas na LMT, si Jojo Revilla. Kaya ako sinabing matikas kasi magkakulay kami halos. Maskulado. Kaya sinabi kong matikas, no? Pero siyempre, matikas din si Kuya Romel Martinez. Abay, nagwe-weights yan eh. Minsan, iniinggit ako eh. Kapag kasi nagwe-weights na sa bahay niya eh. Hindi ko magawa kasi nawala yung dumbbell ko. Hindi ko na alam kung saan napunta yung aking expander, yung ball worker, mga nawala na rin. Eh, siyempre, noong time na bata-bata pa tayo, meron tayong mga ganong gadget. Kaso, hindi ko alam kung saan napunta na. Kung sino mga ang pumitik. Hindi ko alam ibig sabihin pumitik. Yung mga nanyakaw, yun. Okay, at ewan ko, si Kuya Romel, hindi ako sinasagot. Sabi ko sa kanya kung pwede niya akong pasyalan dito at gusto kong mag-relax. Alam na ni Kuya Romel yung kung ano ibig ko sabihin, pero hindi ako sinasagot. Baka busy. O baka naman, ayaw kasi joke lang. Okay mga kaibigan, magpapakilala lang kami ni Joshua Mendoza. Magpapakilala yung plugging natin, yung program plugging. Nakita mo? Ayan. Magpapakilala lang po kami at muli kami magbabalik sa aming pagbabalik ay itutunghay namin sa inyo yung ginawang World Peace Summit ng HWPL. Okay? Okay dyan, Joshua? Okay, sa mga kaibigan, magbabalik po kami.
Ikaw ba stress? O may dinaramdam? O gulong-gulo na talaga isip mo? Tumutok lamang at panoorin dito sa Millennial Online TV. May tuturo po ko sa inyong isang paraan upang maibsan at mabawasan niyang problemado ninyong pag-iisip. Ito ay ang Tai Chi Learning Series. Sana po tumutok po kayo at abangan niyo po kung Sabado po ng umaga yan. Dito lamang po sa Millennial Online TV. Salamat po.
Talakayin, rebisahin, opinyon, palawakin, aksyonan. Kasama si Rosel Lopez, ang inyong katropa, dito lang sa Millennial Online TV. Ang katropa mo sa pagbabalita. Ikaw ba'y nag-iisa? Nalulungkot? Dahil iniwan at ipinagpalit? Niloko ng iyong minamahal? Kung ngayon, i-type sa inyong mga cellphone, Facebook o YouTube man ang Millennial Online TV. Dahil nasa Millennial Online TV na ang online haralista ng bagong milenyo, si Randel Villados.
Naninigas ang aking katawan kapag umikot ng plaka.
at haharanahin kayo ni Randel ng iba't ibang awitin para maibsan ang inyong inip at kalungkutan kahit nasaan man kayo.
Hanggang sa tumanda. Come on! Kung tayo'y matanda na, sana'y di tayo magbago.
At pwede rin kayong makiduet kay Randel tuwing Sabado ng hapon. Tutok na! Tawag na, mga milenyo!
Araw-araw ikaw ang gusto kong kasama. Buhay ko'y kumpleto na tuwing nandito ka sa tabi ko o aking giliw.
Okay mga kaibigan, nagbabalik po tayo sa oras na alas 7:02 po ng gabi, Philippine Standard Time. At tayo, medyo nangangapapa si Joshua Baltaw sumulat, kaya nagkalituhan kanina, no? Kaya na-play ka agad yung ating ipe-play at hindi yung plugging. So, mga kaibigan, at unti-unti lang yan, talagang gano'n, pagkabago, ika nga mahirap, di ba? Pero pagka yun na, naintindihan niyo ba ako? Ika nga, pagka virgin, mahirap. Kapag hindi na virgin, sandali na lang yon, di ba? Tama ba yun? Okay, so yun mga kaibigan, at ngayon ay tutunghayin na natin yung HWPL World Peace Summit. Ito'y dinaluhan ng 152 countries yata, kung di ako nagkakamali. So mga kaibigan, panoorin natin at para at least malaman nyo naman yung ginagawa po ng HWPL para hindi lang sa mundo natin, sa bansa natin, kundi sa buong mundo. So mga kaibigan, panoorin natin.
Family members of peace, welcome to the 7th anniversary of the September 18th HWPL World Peace Summit. My name is Im Yeun, your host for today. It is great to meet all of you. On September 18th, 2014, the HWPL World Peace Summit was held to open a new chapter of peace in order to achieve a world of peace without wars. Leaders of different sectors from all over the world gathered and pledged to implement an international law for peace and achieve religious harmony. And the framework for peace was established when the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW was proclaimed on March 14, 2016. Many initiatives have been held globally to achieve lasting peace based on the DPCW. The efforts and passion of the family members of peace have continued even in this new normal era where our lives have been completely changed. Today, on the 7th anniversary, I will share the results of the peace projects conducted by HWPL and our peace messengers around the globe despite the changes in the international environment, as well as the future direction and plans of HWPL. I sincerely hope that an international law for peace will be implemented so that humanity can live harmoniously in a world of peace that is governed by law, not force. Let all of us reaffirm the pledge and determination that was declared in 2014 in front of all people and actively participate in this work of peace. I would like to remind everyone that today's event, which is being held in Seoul, Republic of Korea, is in compliance with all quarantine and social distancing measures. With this, we will now begin the 7th anniversary of the September 18th HWPL World Peace Summit. We received messages from around the world congratulating today's event. Let's take a look. Warm greetings. My name is Rosalia Artiega. I'm the former President of the Republic of Ecuador, as well as the former Minister of Education. I've always believed that education is the key to improve all people. I want to take this opportunity to send a warm salutation to HWPL for the occasion of the 7th anniversary of the World Peace Summit held in South Korea. I had the honor to participate and also interact with world leaders, participate in interreligious dialogues, and speak with people who want peace. We know that it will be hard to achieve peace if we are not all working for it. This is why we need to encourage children, the youth, and adults to prevent verbal abuse and work towards reducing inequalities and eradicating disparities to achieve a more equitable, stable, and peaceful world. My wish is for the success of HWPL and all the peace instruments that are generated in the world. We will be together in this path. Dear friends, a cordial greeting to you all. I am Lucio Gutierrez, former Constitutional President of Ecuador. And on this 18th of September, we are celebrating the 7th anniversary of the World Peace Summit. I want to send my fervent greeting, congratulations, and encouragement to continue in this path, searching for peace in the world. It is not easy. It is a very difficult challenge, but you are accomplishing it. You are going to succeed in bringing happiness and blessings to all inhabitants of this planet. Please continue forward with this work, searching for world peace in our beloved planet. Thank you. Next is the progress report. Mr. Teo Kang, the General Secretary of HWPL, will give a report of HWPL's peace activities to leave peace as a legacy to the future generations.
Greetings to the family of peace. I am Kang Tae-ho, Managing Director of Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light, transcending nationalities, religions, and ethnic backgrounds, with a single goal of building a legacy of peace for future generations. HWPL is leading its peace activities. Allow me to give you a progress report of HWPL. HWPL was founded on May 25, 2013. It is an international peace organization associated with the UN Economic and Social Council and the UN Department of Global Communications. It closely collaborates with organizations working as its two wings, the IPYG and the IWPG. Forming an international peace network together, we join hands with leaders from various sectors and communities around the world in our peace activities. On the founding day of HWPL, May 25, 2013, in front of the Peace Gate in Seoul, Korea, HWPL Chairman Man Hee-lee proclaimed the Declaration of World Peace. With this declaration, the work of world peace and restoration has begun, went the final statement of the declaration. People gathered in front of the Peace Gate that day included 30,000 youths from 130 countries. After the declaration, those young people went back to their home countries. Starting with peace walks, they led various peace activities in their communities, which became a seed of a culture of peace, now yielding progress of peace as follows. January 24th of 2014, Chairman Manny Lee mediated a peace agreement to the leaders of politics and religion in Mindanao, the Philippines, a region that had bloodshed from political and religious conflict for 4 decades that produced victims numbering up to 120,000. His proposition of peace agreement led to the first steps of action to resolve conflict from both sides, and to work toward peace and prosperity, resonating with the true meaning and teachings of religion. The day the peace agreement was signed, thousands of young adults in Mindanao started a peace walk and shouted out for peace in the streets. Once a conflict zone, Mindanao is now home to a peace monument, a symbol of the promise for peace that celebrates the Mindanao Peace Agreement. January 24th was made HWPL Day. It is a day for citizens and leaders of Mindanao to remember the promise for peace and work to establish peace in the region. The Mindanao Peace Agreement is a milestone that highlights HWPL's tireless efforts for the cessation of war and establishing sustainable peace. On September 18, 2014, in Seoul, South Korea, HWPL hosted about 200,000 people from all walks of life, including 4,000 leaders from 170 countries. It was one of the largest in scale for events hosted by an NGO. It was the September 18 HWPL Peace Summit. At the main conference of that summit, participants signed 2 very important agreements for the coexistence and for prosperity of humankind and for peace and the cessation of war. One was the agreement to propose the enactment of international law for the cessation of wars and world peace, which was signed by present and former heads of state and leading figures. The other agreement was the World Alliance of Religions Agreement, which was signed by religious leaders. At the same time, leaders of civil organizations pledged to encourage the fulfillment of the 2 agreements from the community level. This year marks the 7th anniversary of that very day. HWPL's unrelenting work is directed at fulfilling the pledges made before global citizens and establishing lasting peace and the cessation of wars. On the 1st anniversary of the HWPL Peace Summit in 2015, HWPL inaugurated the ILPC, the HWPL International Law Peace Committee, joined by renowned international law experts. Working with Chairman Lee, the ILPC drafted the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, a concrete solution for peace executable at all levels of society. The DPCW was proclaimed worldwide on March 14, 2016. Since then, the DPCW has won global support from various social arenas, and HWPL is currently working to submit the DPCW to the UN General Assembly, aiming for the adoption of an international legal instrument for peace. In October 2020, the DPCW Handbook was published by the ILPC members. The book illustrates the values and spirit of peace embodied in the DPCW. To this day, at 20 universities in India, Bangladesh, and Tunisia, law professors, students, and citizens enrolled in and completed the DPCW Handbook Discussion Project. A group of peace messengers led by Chairman Lee of HWPL embarked on a world tour for peace to build global solidarity for peace. Through the 31 rounds of the World Peace Tour, the peace messengers had countless encounters that reaffirmed the importance of building peace solidarity. As a result, HWPL named 200 members to the Peace Advisory Council and appointed 610 publicity ambassadors. Also, HWPL formed partnerships in the form of MOAs and MOUs on peace with 265 organizations globally. Notably, HWPL entered MOUs with the International Center for Black Sea Baltic Studies and Consensus Practices, whose members are former heads of Eastern European countries, and also with Pan-African Parliament, which is the legislative body of the African Union, consisting of 55 African countries. In addition, at a function at the UN headquarters, Chairman Manny Lee presented the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW to the UN permanent representatives of 145 countries, who responded to a speech with a standing ovation. As such, HWPL has formed an international peace network and garnered support for the DPCW. HWPL is running the Legislate Peace Project, in short LP, which is a global initiative to ensure peace through international law. For the past 8 years, over 3 million citizens of the world have participated in peace walks and have campaigned for peace and the cessation of war. The signature campaign to support the DPCW gathered 730,000 people's signatures in 176 countries. To fulfill the World Alliance of Religions Agreement, signed at the 2014 HWPL World Peace Summit, HWPL is running 265 work offices in 129 countries where religious leaders discuss ways to resolve interfaith conflicts, one of the main causes of war, and establish lasting peace. Even during the pandemic, participants of the work office did not falter in their endeavors for peace. Since January 2021, more than 3,000 sessions of scriptural dialogue took place in just 7 months, a 340% increase over the previous year. To pass on the values of peace to global citizens and future generations, HWPL signed MOUs and MOAs on peace education with 214 educational institutes worldwide. It also develops peace education curriculums and teaching materials and provides training for educators. The online Peace Educator Training Program completed its 517th session. From 2020, the online Peace Educator Training course recorded 2,023 enrollments. Even in times of a pandemic, media agencies working with HWPL are reporting on continued peace activities such as the promotion of human rights, relief efforts, humanitarian support, volunteer work, and education in different parts of the world. This network of peace media comprises 1,900 media outlets in 162 countries from 2020. The Peace Media Network reported HWPL peace activities approximately 5,400 times. Meanwhile, HWPL held the Peace Media Forum to suggest the role of the media in promoting peace. In coalition with 851 NGOs in 111 countries, the International Peace Youth Group IPYG forms a global youth network. IPYG is running a global-scale discussion platform for youth called YEPW. The workshop discusses ways for the youth to take an active role in overcoming challenges brought by the pandemic. Youth organizations from over 50 countries joined the workshop and carried out projects dealing with pandemic-related issues, including disruption in education and the discrimination and violence against marginalized groups. To resolve the learning loss of the youth and help build up their ability, starting from June, IPYG also launched an online educational program called YEPC. Currently, around 450 youth leaders from 35 countries have enrolled in YEPC and are growing as young messengers of peace. The ceaseless efforts for realizing lasting peace and the cessation of war. HWPL's work for peace was made possible by you, the family of peace, and your dedication to building peace. Even during a global crisis, the culture of peace will only shed a brighter light that brings us together and eventually bring an end to wars from our global community and leave an everlasting legacy of peace for future generations. As we celebrate the 7th anniversary of the September 18th HWPL Peace Summit, I thank all members of the Family of Peace once again for taking part in this historic moment. With that, I conclude the progress report.
Thank you. Now we will hear presentations on how the world has been cooperating to achieve sustainable peace. The presentations will cover different peace initiatives of 3 sectors and their results. Although the sectors may be different, their concerted actions in order to fulfill the common goal achieved great things. I'm curious to see what has been achieved by working to implement an international law for a peaceful world, bring religions together, and act as peace citizens. We will now hear the presentations. Hello everyone. My name is Lee J.R. and I'm a member of HWPL. It is a pleasure to meet all of you. HWPL is conducting the Legislate Peace Project, an initiative to garner support for the DPCW and achieve its adoption at the international level. Starting this year, we have launched new campaigns to bring fresh energy to our society that has grown weary of the pandemic. One of the campaigns, which I would like to introduce today, is an online study group on the DPCW handbook. This handbook explains the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW in detail. The study aims to teach citizens about the values and spirit of peace embodied in each article and urge them to support the DPCW. The idea of the handbook was first suggested at the 7th International Law Peace Committee meeting in 2019 and was developed step by step, even in the midst of the pandemic. As a result, the handbook was finalized in October 2020. The handbook includes content on each article of the DPCW, as well as related international issues, which can open in-depth discussions on why peace is necessary and how it can be achieved. Dr. Mizanur Rahman, Dean and Professor of Law at the University of Dhaka, recruited law school students from 14 universities in Bangladesh and India and held online study sessions using the DPCW handbook.
I think that the DPCW handbook it enables us to systematically teach international law and the essence of peace to the students and others, and that enables the students to become lecturers in the following course. And it was very interesting to see that how these students become lecturers in international and ambassadors of peace while they taught others the DPCW handbook, and how they become, ambassadors of peace in the whole world. This I do have because after the instructions in DPCW handbook on peace, I want to become a lecturer in DPCW handbook and inculcate the message of DPCW peace through my students. So I'll be a lecturer not only at my home, but I want to reach out to the students elsewhere in other cities and in the region as such.
The DPCW handbook online study sessions have been held in 20 schools in Bangladesh, India, and Tunisia since November 2020. Students analyzed and explored the DPCW through discussions and presentations, while legal experts and professors participated as mentors.
Joining the 6-month-long DPCW handbook discussion project was a wonderful peace learning experience for me. The whole course was quite special. But one thing I'll always particularly cherish about this course was its particular focus on the importance of peace education. Throughout this discussion project, I came to learn about the importance of peace education through DPCW, and I was persuaded to believe how the importance of peace education can be an effective tool to end the war all over the world. I joined this course with some brilliant mentors and enthusiastic learners from home and abroad. Throughout this project, I was trained on the importance of peace education by putting the various human rights crises in the context. I believe that the knowledge that I have gained from this course will be a great contribution for the society, and I feel really great about participating in this course for this reason. I am currently a final year law student at University of Dhaka, Bangladesh, and as I have also graduated from the DPCW course, I aim to join the peace education and culture based on DPCW for citizens as a lecturer to spread the importance of peace education among the ordinary people, because I believe DPCW has the potentiality to end the crisis like the ongoing crisis we are facing in Bangladesh or the current human rights crisis in Afghanistan. And that's why I aim to teach the ordinary people about the peace education, particularly people in Bangladesh, Afghanistan, or various other countries like that all over the world. Thank you.
Like Arifa Rahman said, HWPL is planning on expanding its educational program on the DPCW handbook to include the general public. As the first step, an online session was held for University of Dhaka's Department of Peace and Conflict students, where they watched the lecture video of peace culture education based on the DPCW. The students will hold a session every month to prepare learning material tailored for the general public. Peace culture education will not only enhance citizens' understanding of international law, but also shed light on steps that they need to take to create a peaceful future. Next, I would like to introduce the online seminar on human rights. Since September of last year, HWPL has held webinars inviting people from different walks of life to seek solutions to the issue of human rights violations that have emerged during the pandemic. The webinars were held on topics such as domestic violence, women's rights, and religious minorities, and attended by over 2,300 people in 75 countries. Through the online seminar on human rights, HWPL is offering a peace platform where governments, local organizations, and citizens can interact and work together to resolve issues that threaten peace in everyday life. We will continue to provide the platform to create a synergy of peace among various sectors and organizations across the globe. Moreover, HWPL is listening to the voices of peace-yearning citizens around the world to propose peace policies. In line with implementing the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions, and Goal number 17, Partnerships for the Goals in Mali, Africa, HWPL has had discussions with Malian government officials and civic groups since November 2020. As a result, a peace policy proposal was submitted to the Malian government in September this year. Until the DPCW is implemented at the international level, HWPL will not stop urging leaders around the world to support it. We have only one goal: to create a safe and peaceful world for everyone under a law of peace. In this new normal era, we, HWPL, promise to stay connected with all of you and pave the way of peace with innovative and consistent efforts. Thank you.
I truly hope that the international law based on the DPCW will be implemented in all corners of the world. Greetings. I am Park Soo-jung, and I will be presenting on the HWPL Work Office's peace projects. Work offices were established to fulfill the pledge made during the 2014 HWPL World Peace Summit for the Alliance of Religions. With 265 offices operating in 129 countries, the activities of the work offices have been growing despite the pandemic. For 7 months since January in 2021, 3,089 scripture comparison discussions were held, which is a 340% hike compared to the previous year. Such active engagement was possible thanks to the endeavors of countless religious leaders. At the Work Office Comparison of Scriptures, like-minded leaders came together for peace, the essence of religion. And they collaborated for religious harmony through discussions and comparing religious texts. In trying to overcome the global challenges, faith leaders around the globe have set examples and inspired citizens. Let's listen to religious leaders who have been striving for peace.
Actually, according to the scriptures, religion is only one and God is only one, but their paths are different. So every individual has a different path. So we have to put them together.
And definitely this understanding and harmony between faiths is a huge contributing factor to reducing conflict and war in our world. We've been a bit distracted with COVID, but the wars continue, and the suffering as a result of those wars of innocent families continues. And so I think that, our group is a very small group, but when I think that these groups are happening all over the world, it's not a small thing. And, it kind of reminds me of a network of light. And it's like this network is over our planet. And there are people, like-minded people, holding the same sentiments, aiming for the same peace on our planet. And I think there's a lot of power in the collective. And it took one man to take the first step. But now there is this amazing network of light that's happening.
As we have seen, the efforts of many religious leaders will help increase knowledge from the comparative studies of scriptures and ultimately lead us to build peace among religions by finding the most trustworthy scripture. Achieving an alliance of religions will in effect lay the foundation for humanity's peace and harmony. However, the endeavors of the leaders do not stop at having comparison discussions. While carrying out practical religious studies and discussions, they are also expanding activities to promote the culture of peace dearly needed in local communities. In particular, there have been efforts to build work offices and temples to spread a culture of religious peace. A case in point is a Buddhist temple located in South Korea. The Inwook Temple located in Cheonguk, Jeollabuk-do Province under the Paradise Choge Order of Korean Buddhism. The founding master Inwook was deeply inspired by the Declaration of Unification proclaimed by Chairman Manhee Lee on the 65th anniversary of Korea's National Liberation Day on August 15. Master Inwook opened the temple gates to HWPL Warp Office. On August 12th, a signboard unveiling ceremony was held declaring the temple as a warp office, a site for spreading a culture of peace. Sided with exhibitions on religious culture, peace blossomed on a meaningful day at the temple.
The Declaration of Unification is not just for a few to listen to and enjoy. I believe that all citizens and people of North and South Korea need to implore and call for the reunification of the two Koreas and world peace with clenched fists. That is why I joined the World Peace Movement as a monk to observe and support the strength stored in the Declaration until my last day. As I witnessed the peace work on site, I was deeply inspired by Chairman Manhee Lee, who is a leader of age standing at the forefront and leading others with guidance. I also thought that I want to be of help, even if it's as small as a grain of sand in the desert. So I decided to take part in the movement. As much as humanly possible until I die, I will be at the front for the reunification of Korea. Thank you very much.
Anyone who yearns for peace can join HWPL, and when we work together as one, peace will surely be achieved. However, peace among religions cannot be made with only the efforts of religious leaders. Civil society is a key player in opposing war and protecting peace, so its participation is absolutely necessary. That is why the Warp Office has prepared a platform for people across the globe to experience various religions and take an active part in Warp Offices through the HWPL Religious Peace Youth Camp. In 23 countries including Finland and India, 36 online peace camps took place. Citizens not only got to experience other religions at the camp, but also had discussions and interactive games to learn about cases of religious conflict and gain insight on how to resolve them. In August, a peace youth camp was held with participants from 3 European countries and offered various programs such as time for declaring a statement for global peace and group prayers.
I actually think it was when everyone finished their discussions and we were back in the main group and the group representatives were talking, and it just I think it's how well they spoke and how different their views were. It was just very impressive to see other people's perspective. It's like, oh, I didn't even think of this. I think the best way to become educated and to become a sort of a global citizen is to speak to people of differing views and talk to them and respect their views and put yourself in their shoes. So I think that's very important to do, to grow as a person and to become a better person. So I think organizations like HWPL definitely help that. and facilitate.
Philippines are making ornaments for a peace park. At JNMEI, a school in India, students attended a peace education session titled The Power to Overcome Coronavirus Gratefulness. And in this picture, students in Romania are celebrating completing the peace education course. Here are students from Taikenya School in Mali and Zebrac Elementary School in Czech Republic drawing a tree of gratitude during their peace camp. Students wrote a reason to be grateful on each leaf. The textbook for HWPL Peace Education has 2 sections with a total of 12 chapters. It guides learners to analyze the fundamental cause and effect of when peace failed, discover answers to restoration and healing, and learn gratitude, sympathy, devotion, understanding, forgiveness, and other important values. Now then, let's see how students describe what difference peace education made for them.
There are many changes in my life when I started learning the peace education. The first change in my life is that I am starting my each day with a positive thought and a grateful heart.
I believe that we all have been born to this world to defeat the desire of war and bring peace to the earth. Together, let us truly recreate the world with the dedication of love and peace.
These students will be our future leaders of peace. HWPL Peace Education is positively impacting teachers as well as students. In June, Florent Pasquier, a professor at Sorbonne University, completed the Peace Educator training course. He says peace education should be included in the mandatory curriculum. And in the Commonwealth of Dominica, Octavia Alfred, the Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, proposed to include HWPL Peace Education in the curriculum of all public schools.
En ce qui me concerne, je n'enseigne pas à des enfants, mais à des jeunes adultes et des adultes au niveau Master 1 et 2, des métiers de l'éducation, de l'encadrement éducatif et de la formation. La façon dont HWPL aborde les programmes d'éducation à la paix est manifestement la résultante d'un long travail de réflexion dans lequel on voit une progression. Elles doivent rentrer dans les curricula, ça n'est plus une option. Ça devrait faire partie d'un tronc commun de formation, d'un cursus de base pour savoir que ça existe.
We are speaking today about the HWPL Peace Curriculum, which was introduced into the school's curriculum in Dominica as part of the Health and Family Life Education. HWPL is a wonderful program. We're excited about it, and we know that HWPL will take root in Dominica, and it has already begun. And when this thing is fully implemented, we just cannot wait to see the fruits of that curriculum. And we are sure that Dominica will be sharing the fruits of HWPL with other countries. We are just so glad that we were chosen. We just cannot stop thanking you for choosing Dominica.
The winds of peace caused by education are bringing the global community closer. Since the Mindanao Peace Agreement was signed in the Philippines in 2014, HWPL and the Mindanao Island have continued to cooperate to help spread a culture of peace throughout the Philippines. On July 19th, Cotabato City in Mindanao held an unveiling ceremony of the HWPL Peace Monument, the third of its kind in the city. This peace monument, a form of piled rocks and stones, was made by local citizens who brought rocks from all across Mindanao Island. It is a symbol of solidarity, free of division or discrimination, and people's hearts and minds united for peace. This culture of peace is surely reaching all shores of the Philippines. The beautiful story of peace in Barangay Foz in the Ilocos Norte region, a municipality in the northern Philippines, is nothing short of a miracle. For the past year, students took HWPL peace education courses, influencing their parents and the community with peaceful inspirations. The students brought positive change to the local community that once festered with strife and conflict. Now, Barangay Foz of Ilocos Norte has been transformed into a community of peace, and students and citizens are donating and volunteering to build a garden of peace.
Starting with peace education, our community has become more involved in peace activities. Among this was the Planting the Trees of Peace campaign, which serves as a promise to build a peace monument in the future. Just after a month, people of Barangay Foz started to make this promise a reality. aiming to contribute this peace monument for the September 18, 7th anniversary of World Peace Summit. The land where the Peace Monument is being erected was donated by the parents of students who enrolled their children and studied HWPL Peace Education. What made it more special was when the Peace Monument became a solution to resolve the conflict between the two families because both of them were fighting over the land. But they decided to donate the land instead to resolve the conflict. The Peace Park and Peace Monument became a catalyst to work hand in hand together as one community.
People inspired by peace are bringing innovative change. The wind of peace that took off from Mindanao, which is located in the south, is now blowing across the Philippines, reaching its northern region of Ilocos and bearing fruit. If the extraordinary potential of HWPL peace education is realized around the globe, a world free of discord and conflict and a world where peace is a norm may come true. HWPL will continue to build broader and stronger partnerships through MOUs and MOAs entered with national education entities and work for qualitative and quantitative improvements. We will provide equal opportunity to learn the HWPL peace education to all global citizens, including students in underserved communities with limited access, and nurture peace-inspired talents that will become a vital part of our society in the new normal era. Thank you. We are seeing the results of the concerted actions for peace all around the world. Next, we will listen to the story of HWPL and the family members of peace who have been raising their voices for peace.
Freedom of practice religion. This is the new life.
God is a creator, space and time is one physical.
Et encore une fois, j'aimerais...
En termes ministériels,
I sincerely wish the footsteps for peace will bear beautiful fruit. Next, the General Director of IPYG, who is leading the youth to actualize peace, will give his commemorative speech. The youth leaders around the world partnered with the IPYG have been conducting the LP project, a project which supports and advocates for the DPCW. They are now going a step further and proactively conducting activities to achieve peace by solving problems during the current international crisis. Please give Mr. Youngmin Chung, the General Director of IPYG, a big hand.
Messengers of peace around the world, hello. I am Youngmin Chung, the director of the IPYG. The youth across the world and IPYG are working passionately to realize the DPCW. Today, allow me to share the progress of a year's work and our plans to establish peace while outrunning the challenges posed by COVID-19. In 2020 and 2021, the youth were widely affected by the pandemic during the insecure and difficult times. They weathered a disease from a virus infection, a mental health challenge named the COVID-19 blues stemming from social distancing, and was also exposed to cyberbullying. School shutdowns to contain the spread of COVID caused education disruption for more than 1.6 billion students in over 160 countries. It caused students the opportunity for future development. Moreover, it often exposed young people to violence and human rights violations at homes and workplaces, and some were forced into armed conflicts. Also, students living in poverty had to go starving because school cafeterias were closed. Amid these challenges, youth leaders who work with the IPYG have strived to build a stable social foundation and help students overcome their sufferings. One youth member from Timor-Leste gave English and peace education lessons to students eager to learn and gave them hope. A young gentleman from South Sudan went to neighborhoods with no internet access on a bicycle to educate the community about viruses and sanitation. To extend the helping hands of the youth, the IPYG worked for solidarity and cooperation of the global youth community. The Answer for Peace, the DPCW's Article 10 on a culture of peace and peace education aligns with our work. Toward that effort, IPYG first launched a global discussion platform for the youth, the Youth Empowerment Peace Workshop, YEPW. The online workshop, which dealt with overcoming the pandemic crisis and building a sustainable future, called for the youth to move proactively. In response, the youth joined the workshops, hosted by continent. There, they shared the challenges in their region and launched collaborative projects to counter the issues. Participants in Europe and the Americas discussed the rapidly growing cyberbullying and COVID-19 blues. And the results? They are carrying out campaigns and classes to address cyberbullying. What emotional distress do victims of school violence experience? In France, participants put themselves in the shoes of the victims, the bullies, and the bystanders in a virtual video simulation game.
So we always wondered how we could talk to the youth about cyberbullying in a creative way. As a result, an idea of a game simulation arose through interactive games, a topic of interest for so many youth recently. And we were inspired by the concept where the story changes according to the user's decision for each scenario. Many participants said they were impressed by the tremendous immersion and lessons the simulation gave, and they became more aware of the consequences of the small choices. And some participants even said it was a time to reflect on their recent words and actions, not only on the real world, but also on the cyber world as well. So we will continue to expand this cyberbullying campaign with much more content. And if the opportunity arises, we even plan to make it into a real online game.
I think it's a youth-savvy idea tied into the initiative. Next is Africa and Asia. The youth in these regions discussed ways to resolve education disruption. According to a UNESCO research, even before 2020, half of the youth from ages 15 to 17 in the regions were unable to attend school, and the pandemic exacerbated the issue. The youth there reached out to the IPYG, and IPYG responded by launching non-formal educational programs on an NGO level. It's called the Youth Empowerment Peace Class, or YEPC, which we run with youth members. So far, more than 450 youth from 35 countries have signed up for YEPC. The courses not only provide HWPL peace education, but also has parent education on the importance of family and parental role, self-wellness education that raises awareness of the dangers of drugs and smoking, and global citizenship education to develop the bearing and conduct of citizens in an era of globalization. Meet the founder and CEO of the Youth Foundation of Bangladesh, who operates these trainings.
You know that many young people are violating their rights to study because the internet infrastructure is not well established. And young people cannot go to school properly due to the COVID-19 situation. To solve these problems, IPYG going to interested to discuss youth education rights through the Youth Empowerment Peace Class and proposing solutions according to the situation of each country. I requested to work with the IPYG to analyze the current situation and the current status of the local community and come up with appropriate measures to solve the educational rights and problems. Youth empowerment Peace Class, which call is YEPC, is a great initiative by the IPYG. Through this online platform in the pandemic, IPYG provide good quality education and created opportunities for young people who are not educated and at home and even in school.
It is encouraging that the courses directly helped resolve challenges for the youth. Then, what do the participants think about YEPC?
As a network engaging needy widows and abandoned disengaged adult youth, it was a privilege to be affiliated under YEPW, therefore knowing of the causes offered by the YEPC. YEPC is a very amazing educational program for youth, for it creates a platform to plan and implement ways to solve social and health prevailing issues. I believe the highlight of our training was HWPL, peace education, and parent education, as many participating were able to relate to this and share their childhood testimonies and learn from each other's stories. I believe after being trained with YEPC, many of our members would now have a structure towards being mindful of their approaches in working with young people. They are also grounded in a good foundation to establish trust, continue with raising awareness, and implement projects to boost the needs of what they have been taught. Therefore, we are so blessed being a part of this training initiative. Thank you, Danevat and Vinakawakaliw.
This education teaches me to know who am I, so my value. And the second teach me about my influence. So this is important. I know myself and my influence to another people. We need to know our role and responsibility to do the peace activity, peace event, or peace information to expand it to another person, another people, another young people who really need the peace itself. The youth education peace class make our organization members understand about the peace activity from IPYG and HWPL to develop, expanded the IPYG and HWPL activity in our family, in our community, in our country, and not in our air as a global citizen.
And now, we've shared with you the IPYG programs, YEPW and YEPC. YEPW, which was launched in 2020, has hosted 60 sessions in 50 countries across 6 continents, adding participating individuals and organizations every time. Recently, we surveyed 179 youth members collaborating with the IPYG. The survey showed that 79% said that YEPW was helpful in providing an opportunity to interact with young people from other countries and participate in a cooperative global network. 78% responded that the YEPW made them realize the youth must take an active role in solving social challenges. In addition, when asked about the necessity of a non-formal education program on an NGO level, 98% responded they strongly agree or agree. The results show that the IPYG's projects aimed at realizing the DPCW is recognized for creating a foundation for healthy, thriving communities. Building on these records, the IPYG will continue to expand the youth solidarity and help raise citizens' awareness through YEPW and provide educational courses on YEPC by growing their presence online. With our persistent efforts and interest, I hope discrimination and separation in the corners of the world will be replaced by peace and harmony. A notable concept in the DPCW is that peace is only possible when all nations and people work together. A great number of youth and citizens are joining the initiative, but more participation is needed to let the effects be felt. Our world is connected now more than ever. So, the global community needs to bring change altogether, unless we want to limit the positive effects. I ask everyone here to share these news more often with the youth and people in your home countries, and I ask you to offer them the support and encouragement to work with the IPYG. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do it. Let us go forward together. We are one. Thank you.
I am looking forward to the wins that the peace works of IPYG and the youth will bring about despite the pandemic. Next, the chairwoman of IWPG, an organization that brings women around the world together as one under the name of peace, will give her commemorative speech. IWPG's slogan is Women Who Lead Peace, Coexistence, Recovery, Communication. In addition, IWPG is conducting peace lectures in various fields through the Peace Lecturer Training Education, a program for women peace lecturers, which boasts over 2,000 graduates from 64 countries. Please give a warm round of applause for IWPG Chairwoman Hyun-Suk Yoon.
Greetings to the family of peace. I am Hyun-Suk Yoon, the chairwoman of IWPG. It has already been 10 years since IWPG has worked together with HWPL for the realization of world peace. Chairman Mani Lee of HWPL and the messengers of peace have visited and proclaimed reconciliation and peace in places where wars and conflicts have not ceased. The wind of peace blew into places where wars were once commemorated, changing it to a place that commemorates peace. IWPG has been working together with HWPL to accelerate the realization of peace and cessation of war. To do this, we are carrying out activities under the slogan, Women Who Lead Peace, Coexistence, Recovery, and Communication. The purpose of IWPG is to protect children with motherly hearts and to leave a world of peace as a legacy for the future generations. When entering into the new normal era, IWPG members throughout the world are carrying out peace activities even during this time to accelerate the realization of world peace. I would like to introduce the most significant activity, which is the Peace Lecture Training Education. PLTE is an education with the principle to bring awareness to the reason why 3.9 billion women in the world need to unite as one, and that peace that begins with oneself can bring peace to the family, society, and even to countries. So far, this education, which is based on the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW, has produced over 1,000 lectures throughout 59 countries.
I am Mrs. Larcy Varghese. I am an educator, social activist. I am a principal of the school called St. Matthew's High School and Junior College. Teaching is my passion and my profession. And I am the promoter of peace, and more than 2,000 children I am sending my peace education to children. So this is a peace education I selected, and then I found there is a transformation. So I started inculcating peace in the minds of the children. I found the drastic change. These peace carriers from the school, they go to home, they're transforming their knowledge to home, to the families, to the mother, father. So the entire family, this peace is spreading. And then through that, this converting into many families. So I found there was a change from the tense mind to peaceful atmosphere. So this I found in my education, peace education, a complete change.
Those who completed the Peace Lecture Training Education are teaching the value and importance of peace as peace lectures in the relevant countries.
In 2020, I co-organized offline peace lecture training with Mandalay Peace Committee members. We proceed peace lecture training education until the sixth lecture, but due to COVID-19, the offline event was difficult to continue. So peace lecture training education was stopped. But Corona could not stop our passion for peace education. I hosted online peace lecture training education in 2021 with 2 peace instructors, and it was the most impressive and meaningful moment. Although 60 people applied for peace lecture training education and everyone walked out in the class faithful, fulfilling the assignment given in each lecture. Peace education is a necessary education from Myanmar, which consists of various ethnic groups and people are lack of peace awareness. So participate could organize diversity and embrace each other with a broader mind. Although online peace lecture training education has been suspended due to Myanmar's military coup. After peace lecture training education completely over, many people's attitudes and mindsets will be changed a lot. They will become peace messenger and do many peace activities. Thank you.
In addition, the IWPG continues to support and urge that the DPCW be established into a binding law. In order to create sustainable peace, the support and urging by civil society around the world is very important. Just as small water droplets gather to form a big river, IWPG has signed MOAs and MOUs with 430 organizations in 130 countries and is urging for the legalization of the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW through the Peace Pledge. During the 2021 65th UN Commission on the Status of Women, which was held online, IWPG had an online virtual forum exhibition booth and participated in 357 online sessions hosted by women's civil society groups to promote IWPG's activities and the DPCW. Many women's civil society groups and members around the world have expressed their willingness to participate in the work of peace. Everyone, what do our growing children need the most? Isn't it to grow and receive the best education in a safe and abundant environment? Therefore, I think that the best gift for our future leaders is peace. In response, IWPG started the Plant Peace Initiative in the hopes of instilling a culture of peace for our children to enjoy, replacing the culture of war such as discrimination, violence, and conflict. Since 2018, the Loving Peace Art Competition has been held to draw peace in the hearts of children and youth. In 2021, the International Loving Peace Art Competition was held, in which 5,093 children and youth from 28 countries participated and was able to express their world of peace to their heart's content. Through drawing, our children realized the preciousness and necessity of peace and gave hope by presenting the drawings to children suffering from war and conflict. When we look at our children's drawing with the love of peace, we realized just how important peace activities are. On the other hand, in Myanmar, the unfortunate incidents of innocent civilians being sacrificed due to internal conflict are continuing day after day. At the request of the members of the Myanmar branch, IWPG immediately issued a statement to cease the bloodshed in Myanmar and requested aid to the United Nations and international organizations. In addition, we jointly issued a statement with civil society groups around the world calling for the lives of Myanmar people to be protected and all situations to be resolved in a peaceful way. What the people of Myanmar need now is peace. Through this event, I once again earnestly ask that both the government and people stop the violence and resolve it in a peaceful way. Peace families. In order to spread a culture of lasting peace, we must create a world that commemorates peace and not war. IWPG, in cooperation with HWPL, intends to instill the IWPG Peace Monuments in each country to commemorate the achievements made through the World Peace Tours and to reflect the wishes of women around the world for peace. This will help spread peace in each community and urge support for the 10 articles and 38 clauses of the DPCW to be established as an international law. IWPG will establish the International Women's Peace Center so that the heart of peace will grow in community spaces called centers, and the potential to be resources of peace in society will also grow. This will be a solid foundation for achieving peace by encouraging everyone to recreate peace by becoming a peacemaker who can also nurture others as peacemakers. The International Women's Peace Center, which will be held online and offline, will be a space for nurturing talented people who can foster a culture of peace in the region and country by introducing a variety of programs that cultivate the spirit of peace. Everyone, our mission is to create a world that is peaceful and safe. I am confident that if everyone here today work together for the establishment of an international law of peace, we will be able to realize world peace in the near future. And all women in the world, please unite as one with IWPG. And family of peace, let's make a world of peace. IWPG, the 3.9 billion women, promises to achieve world peace together with HWPL under one heart and will. We are one. Thank you.
I was able to see the unlimited potential of all women growing as peace leaders to teach and carry out peace. Thank you once again for that great speech. Now we will hear from HWPL Chairman Man-hee Lee. Chairman Lee hosted the September 18th HWPL World Peace Summit to bring the world together so that everyone could hear and see for themselves that peace is being achieved. With his practical peace activities, he is proposing a way for all humanity to become beneficiaries of peace. Everyone who pledges to implement an international law and bring religions together are working for these goals with the same heart. We will now hear from Chairman Lee, who holds the answer to peace. Please give him a great round of applause.
Today marks the 7th anniversary of the September 18th HWPL World Peace Summit. I hope everyone has been well and healthy. Due to the emergence of COVID-19, the world is going through a very difficult time. Dear members of HWPL, with not a single person left behind, let us strive together to reach the destination we all hope to arrive at. The heavens will protect us. We have made a great deal of effort through the September 18th HWPL World Peace Summit. As we celebrate the 7th anniversary, it is my pleasure to meet everyone. What is our purpose? It is to bring wars to an end and build a peaceful world to pass it down as a lasting legacy for our future generations. To this end, I have gone on 31 tours across the globe, of which I am sure that you're well aware. To former and incumbent heads of state,
Okay, yun sa mga kaibigan. So medyo mga kaibigan, medyo masyadong mahaba. So ang forma gagawin natin ay i-present na natin, papanoorin natin yung pinaka-highlight, no? Yung pinaka-highlight nitong event ng HWPL, no? Para hindi masyado kayong matagalan sa inyong panonood. Okay, sa mga kaibigan, panoorin po natin yung highlight nitong HWPL World Peace Summit. Panoorin natin.
The DPCW handbook. It enables us to systematically teach international law.
Definitely this understanding and harmony between faiths is a huge contributing factor.
Les programmes d'éducation à la paix est manifestement la résultante d'un
What is the purpose embodied in the slogan, "We are one"? It is to end all wars and to make a peaceful world, to leave it as a lasting legacy for future generations.
To extend the helping hands of the youth, the IPYG worked for solidarity and cooperation.
This online platform in the pandemic, IPYG provides good quality education.
I'd like to introduce the most significant activity, which is the Peace Lecture Training Education. PLTE is an education with the principle to bring awareness to the reason why 3.9 billion women in the world need to unite as one.
And food. 996, alam mo na kapag naririnig mo to, nasa kabilang banda kami ng hina.
Okay, so yun mga kaibigan, at natapos ba, Joshua? So yun po yung pinaka-highlight nitong sa HWPL, ano? Medyo hindi ko masyadong napanood sa bilis no? So yun po yung pinaka-highlight. Kaya yan po, sana sama-sama tayo na ipanalangin, sama-sama natin pagdasal ang kapayapaan po dito sa buong mundo, no? Anyway, maraming salamat po sa HWPL at siyempre sa ating mga taga-subaybay, no, na ngayon ay nakatutok pa rin sina Melan Lianto Juanico. Yan, good evening po sa iyo, ma'am. At ganyan din, si Joshua pala nanonood, ngayon ko lang nakita. Ha? At si Ka Armando Gonzales po ng lokal na Tenejeros dyan sa Malamon. At siyempre si Barangay Kagawad Sani Dadad Pineda ng Barangay Tugatog dyan sa Malamon. Maraming salamat. Yan po Kagawad yung World Peace, no? Ibig sabihin, ay pinapanalangin at panalangin natin ng aktor ito ng buong bansa halos na maging mapayapa na magkaroon ng katahimikang kapayapaan sa buong mundo, no? At syempre lalo ngayon may kinakaharap po tayong pandemya. Okay, so bago tayo magtapos mga kaibigan, ay kung nakikita nyo po itong aking nandito sa harapan, no? Ito pong uba, ha? Itong uba or city, no? Actually po ito ay pinadala po sa atin ng Best Venture for Beauty, Health and Wealth, no? Ito po yung uba ursi tea, no? Ito po ay mga kaibigan ay marami po ang maitutulong sa ating mga katawan. Lalo na kung yung ito ay antibacterial, ito ay best po na natural antibiotic, gamot sa gout, at neutralize po ang acidity, pag acidic ka. At ganyan din yung prostate problem, yung mga may problema po sa prostate, no? Mahusay po itong uba or city, no? At ito po yung nag-i-improve ng ating stamina sa katawan natin at nagbibigay ng extra enerhiya sa ating katawan at binubus po nito, pinalalakas yung ating immune system at ito'y panlaban din sa cancer cell, no? Yung mga may cancer po, yung mga cancer na may mga cell po yan, yung panlaban po yan doon. At ito po nagre-reduce ng mga bad cholesterol at dinonormalize po ang blood sugar level at ganyan din na detoxify toxins at infection of bladder, kidney and infections. So yan po ang nagiging resulta po pagka uminom kayo ng uba or city. Ito po ay mabibili mga kaibigan sa mga ilang branches ng Mercury Drug sa buong bansa, no? Kaya po kung saan ka pa kaysa mag-inom-inom ka diyan kung ano-anong gamot na mga synthetic, aba ito po yung natural, ito po ay galing, no, sa isang halaman na ito'y tumubudo sa isang lugar, no, dito sa region sa atin din ay may mga species po ito na so marami po, no, na magagawa itong uba ursity, no? Ito po ay mabibili sa ilang mga sangay na Mercury Drug dito po sa ating bansa. Okay? O di po, samantala mga kaibigan, ako po ay magpapaalam muna at muli po magbabalik sa araw ng bukas kung hindi ko gagabihin, siyempre sa panibagong episode sa Wednesday edition bukas ng ating programang Talakayin, Rebisahin, Opinyon, Palawakin, Aksyonan, Tropa. Muli po, ayan, mga hindi ko po nabate, no, yung ating LMT, yung pong sina Ma'am Linda Villagonza, Jackie Adahar, Miss Jen Trono, si Sir Haji Crespo, Romel Martinez, at si Jojo Revilla, mga licensed massage therapist po, nakatropa natin. Magandang gabi po sa inyo at salamat po. At gayon din sa ating mga katropa peeps, no? Sino pa ba? Wala pa ba akong, baka may nakalimutan ako, sina Kuya Danigo, yan, yung lagi nanonood, sina Baki po mag-grappler, yung kumari ko na si Christina Kay, at sino pa ba? Baka may nakakalimutan, pangalan nito, si Rapi Flores Jr. po, tanod ng Barangay Bayan-Bayanan, siyempre si Kapitan Ringo Felix ng Bayan-Bayanan Malabon. Magandang gabi po. Muli ako po yung naging kasama, naging kakwentuhan ka-jamming katropa dito po sa programang Tropa. Ako po yung lingkod, Rosel Lopez. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas. Hasta la vista.
Talakayin, rebisahin, talakayin, rebisahin, opinyon, palawakin, aksyonan. Kasama si Rosel Lopez, ang inyong katropa, dito lang sa Millennial Online TV. Ang katropa mo sa pagbabalita.
Ikaw ba stress? O may dinaramdam? O gulong-gulo na talaga isip mo? Tumutok lamang at panoorin dito sa Millennial Online TV. May tuturo po ko sa inyong isang paraan upang maibsan at mabawasan niyang problemado ninyong pag-iisip. Ito ay ang Tai Chi Learning Series. Sana po tumutok po kayo at abangan niyo po kung Sabado po ng umaga yan. Dito lamang po sa Millennial Online TV. Salamat po!
Barangay, pangunahing unit ng pamahalaan lokal kung saan dito pinag-uusapan ang bawat sinalog ng mga residente ng bawat barangay. Dito rin pinag-uusapan ng mga piling halal na opisyal na barangay ang mga proyekto para sa kanilang barangay. Kumustahin natin ang panunungkulan ni Kapitan dito sa Dama Barangay sa Millennial Online TV Worldwide, ang katropa ng bawat barangay.
At tinatapos ang ating pagpupulong. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalo at tapos na po ang ating session. Enjoy na po tayo.
Mga katropa, tunghayan ang kusinero ng bagong milenyo, si Kuya G, at ipagluluto niya kayo ng masasarap na putahe ng pagkain. At para matuto kayo kung paano ito lutuin na pwede mong ihain o ipagmalaki sa iyong mga kaibigan o kamag-anak. Kung ngayon, samahan natin si Kuya G, si Hener Arriesgado, at ituturo niya kung paano lutuin ang mga masasarap na putahe ng pagkain dito lang sa kusinero ng bagong milenyo. Live dito lang sa Millennial Online TV. Tutok na mga katropa. Ikaw ba'y nag-iisa? Nalulungkot dahil iniwan at ipinagpalit, niloko ng iyong minamahal. Kung ngayon, i-type sa inyong mga cellphone, Facebook o YouTube man ang Millennial Online TV. Dahil nasa Millennial Online TV na ang online haralista ng bagong milenyo, si Randel Villados.
Naniniga
katawan kapag umikot ng plaka.
At haharanahin kayo ni Randall ng iba't ibang awitin para maibsan ang inyong inip at kalungkutan kahit nasaan man kayo.
Hanggang sa tumanda. Come on! Kung tayo'y matanda na, sana'y di tayo magbago.
At pwede rin kayong makiduet kay Randall tuwing Sabado ng hapon. Tutok na! Tawag na mga milenyo!
Araw-araw ikaw ang gusto kong kasama. Buhay ko'y kumpleto na tuwing nandito ka sa tabi ko o aking giliw.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Sayang magiliw, pero sa sinamanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y kulay. Lupang pinilang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manluluping, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tulog sa simoy at sa langit ng bagaw, ay nilagang tulatawid sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang lang atawag ko'y tagumpay na nagtitigil, ang bituin at karoon niya kailan ang ay magtitigil. Lumanang araw ng warhabit pagsingka, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na partay mga api, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Millennial Online TV is now signing off.